Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Alright. Let's just jump right into this.
腹減りましたね。途中で食事に寄った方が良かったんじゃないですか？
そうですね。もうすぐ8時か。お昼が遅かったから忘れてました。とりあえず話を聞いたら、おたふくにお茶漬けでも食べに行きましょ
う。警官を4人行かせてましたよね。交代を送らないと答える頃ですね。古出さんが気を利かせて出前でも取っててくれればいいんですがね。
Ooishi and Kumagai had passed through Okinomiya and were getting closer and closer to Hinamizawa. They hurried on their way, driving through the dark streets.
古出リカの全てを話そうっていうのはとても気になるっすよね。
多分相当とんでもない話が飛び出しますよ。あの村はね、本当の名前は鬼ヶ淵村。鬼ヶ淵ってのは沼ですからね。沼の名を冠した村なわけです。
沼なだけにそこが知れませんね。古出リカの護衛ですけどどうします？
彼女の話次第では秘密の場所にかくまった方がいいでしょうね。Hinamizawaってのは村が丸ごと魔物の腹中と同じなんです。あの村の中では何が起こるかわからない。とにかく聞いてみないことにはわかりません。
古出家の当主が命を狙われていて、園崎家次期当主はそれを守ろうと思っている。そんな状況下で誰が古出リカを？あとは君吉家くらいしか勢力が思いつかないです。
Is this the first time someone's ever suspected the Kimiyoshi family? I don't think anyone has actually suspected the Kimiyoshi family at any point of this series, actually. Huh.
君吉家には臭い話は聞いてないんだけどな。やっぱり村には信仰を軸にした勢力が隠れてるってのかな。沼の底がどうなってるのか楽しみです。
The road they were on was cutting through the rice fields, leading them to pass by the scene of Jiro Tomitake's murder.
高野が富武を放置した。そこまでは間違いないと思いますが、富武のあの異常な死に方は一体何だってんでしょう。鑑識のじいさま、覚醒剤は出なかったって言ったんですよね。
確かに薬物反応は出なかったそうですが、だからって絶対なかったって保証はありません。この世にはおかしな薬なんてきっと無数にある。それら全部が間違いなく使われていないなんて保証は誰にも出せませんよ。自分が知らない薬だから実在しないなんて、そんな傲慢は刑事が口にしちゃいけない。あったからにはあるんです。だからきっと富武に首をかき破らせる薬は実在する。そいつは犯人逮捕の折にたっぷり喋ってもらいますよ。あるいは古出リカが話してくれると一番嬉しいんですがね。熊ちゃんも今回の山で決めつける捜査がどれだけ冤罪を生み出してきたかよく分かったでしょう。
ありゃひどかったっすね。あいつうちの署に嫌がったら俺でも許さないところです。
結局最後まで間違いは認めてませんからね。お隣さんはあくまでもあの死体は高野美代だったで通すつもりのようです。でもうちは高野美代生存でいきますよ。あとは県警同士のトップ会談で決着するでしょう。向こうのボンミスは確定してるんですから。認めると怒られると思って躍起になって上乗りしてるんですよね。いやはやそういう体質は改めないといけません。
The car suddenly shook. The concrete road had ended, leaving only gravel. At the point where the gravel road begins, you are officially in Hinamizawa. They continued to drive through the woods for a while.
クマちゃん、ちょいと止めて。
は
Ooishi had told him to stop immediately. Kumagai quickly slammed on the brakes. Their seatbelts tightened up, keeping them in their seats.
どうしたんですか？
あの車、何やってんだろうな。こんなところで。
Ooishi tapped on the rearview mirror. There was a van parked just off the road. Rather beat up. It looked like it was used for a private company. There was no reason for someone to park their car here, especially at this time of night. Kumagai also thought it looked suspicious. The car seemed empty, but there was a light flashing in the woods nearby. Probably a flashlight.
不審ですね。こんな時間に。それにしてもよく気づきましたね。
いつも言ってます。刑事は四六時中目を皿にしてろってことです。何やってんだろうな。不法投棄かな？まさか死体埋めてるんじゃないだろうな。あるいは刺激不足のアベックかな？車のセンスからしてそれはないか。なあ、沖宮 PS どうぞ、聞こえてるかな？なはは、こんばんは、さようなら。
こちら沖宮 PS、感度良好です。
車両ナンバー紹介お願いします。獅子骨ハノ4344。
Did he say 4344? Hold on. Let's hear him repeat that real quick.
車両ナンバー紹介お願いします。獅子骨ハノ4344。
Yeah, I think he said 4344. That's obviously not a full license plate number. But he said Shishibone 4344. I'm gonna let me say it one more time before I continue on.
車両ナンバー紹介お願いします。獅子骨ハノ4344。
Yeah, I was able to hear Shishibone 4344. I might be wrong. If someone wants to correct me down in the comments down below, feel free to. But I think he said Shishibone 4344. Obviously not full license plate number. I just wanted to point this out because I thought that was interesting. That, you know, he actually said a little bit of a fictional license plate. Because usually they would just, you know, skip that line and move on to the next one. But I'm surprised they made up a, you know, license plate number on the fly.
特徴、獅子骨、ハノ4344。
Oh, wait. He said, Hana, yo. Oh. Hold on.
車両ナンバー紹介お願いします。獅子骨ハノ4344。
Okay, I'm gonna let, the police station finish the line.
少々お時間もらいますが、よろしいですか？
Alright.
特徴、獅子骨、ハノ4344。少々お時間もらいますが、よろしいですか？
Oh, I think they said 84344.
特徴、獅子骨、ハノ4344。少々お時間もらいますが、よろしいですか？
Hana yo san yo yo. That sounds like 84344. That could be a license plate number, but that's not a full number. That's only 5 numbers. But I don't know, well, okay, I don't know how license plates work in Japan, especially in the 1980s in Japan. I don't know how that works, so I kind of look like an idiot right now, so I'm just gonna continue on. But yeah, I'm still surprised they, you know, made up a fictional number for the license plate number for such a small line.
お願いします。
おいさん、地図で見るとここ、電話会社の施設がありますね。
電話会社の施設って、何ですかそりゃ。
It was listed as a facility, but it wasn't staffed. It was just a place where machines were installed. Kumagai wasn't sure how telephone lines actually work, but either way, it seemed like some kind of connecting device was located there.
普通のワゴンだよな。電話会社にゃ見えませんね。
電話会社なら、そう書いた車で来るはずっすよね。
委託の伝説業者か何かの可能性もあります。直接聞いた方が早そうですね。
Ooishi wasn't sure if that was the case. After all, why would any phone company go to do maintenance so late at night?
ちょいと行ってみましょうか。フルデさんたちを待たせてますからね。パパッと行きましょう。
そうっすね。
His well-honed detective instinct was telling him let me repeat that. His well-honed detective instinct was trying to tell him something. This feeling wasn't one that Ooishi could easily explain. He has a strong sense that something was suspicious, without any real reasoning behind it. Ooishi trusted that he could judge others' character with that sense.
ウグイス2よりウグイス1。車両が1台停車。2人降りました。おそらく刑事です。そちらへ接近中、1分未満で接触します。
It was pitch black, yet they could see the two newcomers clearly. They were probably using a night vision scope.
了解。全隊員注意せよ。ウグイス2から5はグリーンライトを待て。ウグイス7から8は前後 100m のクリアを確認せよ。
待機。ウグイス4、5。聞こえたな。
ウグイス4、了解。
ウグイス5、了解。
ウグイス7、了解。
ウグイス8、了解。
ウグイスより本部。ウグイスより本部。電話設備工作中にトラブル。私服警官2名の職質と思われる。発砲許可を申請。
本部了解。許可を待て。
By the time Ooishi and Kumagai reached the phone facility, they were being watched from all directions. There were 2 pairs of binoculars, and 2 sniper rifles pointing at them. The Mountain Dog operatives worked in 2-man units, a sniper and spotter, to secure the means of retreat. They had all taken different positions, so that they could shoot Ooishi no matter where he tried to run. They were all in camouflage suits, hiding deep in the woods. Ooishi, of course, had no chance of spotting them. The snipers had their rifles trained on the detectives' heads. Ooishi and Kumagai had no idea that they were on the verge of losing their very lives. The snipers' rifles had their safeties on, but a flick of their thumbs would release them. In other words, they were ready to shoot if given the order. The detectives found the fenced-in machinery right behind the parked van. There was a sign there saying that it was the property of the Nippon Telegraph and Telephone Corporation, and another sign warning people to keep away.
どうも、こんにちは。
すいません。作業中ですんで入らないでもらえますかね。
There were 4 men working there, wearing blue overalls. They had a toolbox open, and were working on some wires.
どうも仕事中お邪魔してすみません。警察の者でございます。いえね、不思議なところに不思議な時間に車が止まっていたもので、どうしちゃったのかなと思いまして。
Is that your car in the background? Is that Ooishi's car in the background? Ooishi car, yeah. You know, I should have expected this. I should have expected these kinds of results. What Okay, hold on. There's gotta be an image of his car somewhere. Oh, yes, okay, so... There we go. Yeah, I think that's Ooishi's car. Yeah, hold on. Okay, look at this car. Look at the car in the background. It's the same model as Ooishi's car. So, Ooishi might have, he parked right in the grass!
そうですか。お仕事ご苦労様です。うちらももうちょっとで終わりますんで。
おたくら、どちらさんです？電電の人じゃないでしょ
ああ、失礼しました。おこのぎ電気設備工事と申します。あれすいません。名刺を切らしちゃってるみたいです。
おこのぎ電気設備工事さんって会社どちらです？
はい。沖宮になりますけど。
会社の電話番号と住所を教えてください。
なんでそんなこと聞きますか？
電話番号忘れちゃいました？
Ooishi looked at them with a piercing glare. Their response was very suspicious. Usually, the vehicle of an electric company is full of various types of electrical equipment and repair tools. However, the van parked there had nothing inside, and it looked just like an ordinary car. Also, a company vehicle usually has the name of the company painted on it. But this one was just a plain van with no markings on it. None of that was the reason that Ooishi found them suspicious, though. It was their attitude that bothered him. They didn't sound, nor look like typical contractors. They were obviously not electricians. It was far too late in the day, and there were far too many of them. They were also clearly suspicious of Ooishi. However, that was all he could tell by just looking around. He found them suspicious, but had no idea what they were up to. One of the men told Ooishi the phone number. Kumagai wrote down the number so he could ask the station to call and confirm it was real.
私ら、そんな怪しいもんじゃありませんって。
あんたら怪しすぎですって。一体何者です？委託業者なら作業写真用に作業前作業後とか書かれた黒板とかあったりするでしょう。そういうのもないですし、だいたいあんたたちの雰囲気が違いすぎます。
おまわりさん、そんな意地悪言われちゃかなわないです。勘弁してください。私ら早く作業を終えて帰らなきゃならないんです。
Judging from their progress, it didn't look like they'd be cleaning up anytime soon. In fact, it almost seemed like they were just getting started.
もう化けの皮は剥がれてんだよ、電気屋に化けるときはまずバイトして勉強してからにしな。
Ooishi raised his voice threateningly. The members of the Mountain Dogs gradually started to look more and more annoyed. Ooishi looked over their expressions and gave them a big wide grin. However, Ooishi had no idea. He thought he could handle the suspicious people with no issues. Of course, in reality, there were horrific demons that he had no chance against. Meanwhile, Kumagai was heading back to the car. He was intending to contact the police department. He was going to call the station using the radio. Then, in turn, the police department would contact the NTT. That way, it would become clear who they were really dealing with.
本部よりウグイス1発砲許可。
ウグイス7クリア。
ウグイス8クリア。
The sniper was still aiming at Kumagai's head as he headed back toward their car. The safety, that last line protecting Kumagai's life, was disengaged. The sniper put his finger on the trigger. He was wearing a glove with the fingertips cut out. The finger poking through the hole was very rough and merciless. For as soon as he slightly moved that finger, he would take someone's life.
ウグイス1より狙撃犯オールグリーン。
Kumagai heard a quiet noise. It was similar to the sound of the jump rope that he used to use as a whip when he was little. And that was the last thought Kumagai had in this world. Kumagai collapsed onto the gravel. That was it. He didn't even twitch. Ooishi was lying on his back on the concrete after getting shot in the chest. His lungs were filled with blood, which began to pour out of his mouth. Ooishi only realized that he'd been shot when the world began to blur before his eyes. As his world kneeled over, he saw a man in a work uniform leveling a gun at him, but it didn't matter anymore as he started to drown on his own blood.
沖宮 TS より大石はどうぞ。
And I think that's the only time Ooishi has officially died in Higurashi. Other than his disappearance in Tatagoroshi, but I think this is the only time Ooishi's actually died in one of the main games that I know of. Man. Like, he is a big character, so I'm surprised they kind of, skimmed over his death a little bit, but yeah. Honestly, I'm kind of more or less surprised by how anticlimactic his death was in the visual novel, because I remember in the manga, yes, it was like only 1 or 2 pages. I have to say, his death in the manga was a lot more impactful because we saw a little bit more as to what happened during this moment. While in the game, it's just more or less like, well, he's dead. Huh.
先ほどのナンバーが判明しました。大石はどうぞ。大石応答願います。電波悪いのかな。大石応答願。
出ませんね。大石さんが車両紹介？誰の車だよ。村人の車ですね。至って平凡な。何者だよ。大石さんが聞いてくるからにはただ者じゃないんだろ。突起事故欄は完全に空欄ですね。S 号指定もなし、減点もなしだし。
What's the name?
パッシングでもされて腹が立ったんじゃないの？
Oh no.
あの人、根に持つとなかなか忘れないタイプなんだよ。
ウグイスより本部2名を射殺。作業再開。
本部了解。警官の車両処理は慎重に行われたし。3佐、ウグイスは警官2名を排除。作業再開。
おやすみなさい、大石さん。私の尻尾をつかめてもう一息だと思ったでしょうに。残念ね。
Oh, wait a second. Is this the first time we're seeing Takano in her, major form? I mean, major clothes? I think this is the first time we're seeing Takano in her major clothes. Interesting.
コーヒーをもらえるかしら。
どうぞ。しかし、厄介な展開になってきましたね。
Fang 4. Huh, that's a new name.
R 宅には依然、私服警官数名と、それから友人数名がいるそうです。R は自分が今夜殺されることに感づいているとしか思えません。作戦が漏れています。やはり決行は延期すべきでは。
明日の朝には死体が見つかっていないといけないのよ。お偉いさんたちの日程上、その日が一番都合がいいって話なんだから。作戦は決行します。
The crucial part of this final mission was the death of Rika and what came after that. They couldn't just kill her whenever they wanted. Doing it at the right time was vital.
山犬による過剰な警備にかえって過敏に反応したのでしょうか。
違うわね。漏洩じゃない。予言よ、あれは。富武の死と、そして私ですら知り得なかった偽装死体の状態まで知っていた。あの子は女王なのよ。Hinamizawaの頂上存在の頂点に立つ女王で、巫女で降臨したるお社様の血脈に連なる正当な末裔。神を欺くことなどできない。知られるのは宿命だったのよ。フルでリカをあっさり暗殺などできるわけがなかった。いいわよ、リカちゃん。あなたと私、どちらがお社様の伝説を受け継ぐにふさわしいか勝負しようじゃない。あなたの死はお社様のたたりの最後を飾り、この村の伝説のフィナーレを飾る。私の作り上げた物語はその時こそ本当のたたりになるの。
And we're back to the kids. It was now past 8 p.m. Leon ordered some noodles for us, her treat. We also ordered some food for the 4 officers, and we all ate together. We were supposed to call it a night as soon as we talked to Ooishi, but he's still not here. However, we all took it easy, assuming that they'd get here sooner or later. It's getting late. Once you get to Hinamizawa, there aren't many places to get something to eat. I'm sure they're having a quick dinner before coming here. However, the 4 officers seemed anxious. They all had families, but Ooishi didn't tell them how late they'd have to be out here. They're hoping that Ooishi will bring other officers to relieve them so they can go home. They called the station, but all they said was that Ooishi was on his way. And we should wait, because he'll be here soon.
遅いね、大石さん。
You know, wouldn't the Okamiya Police Department get a little, suspicious after not hearing from Ooishi for 2 hours? Or is that just me asking that? Because the last time we contacted them was 2 hours before as he was heading to Hinamizawa, and now he's not answering at all. Wouldn't you think someone would find that as tad bit suspicious?
渋滞にでも巻き込まれたんだよ。ちょうど帰宅ラッシュの時間帯にぶつかっただろうからね。おまわりさんもお昼からずっといてくれてるんですのよね。交代が来てあげないとかわいそうですわね。
そうだな。何時に終わるのかもわからない仕事って疲れるもんな。
警察の人には休んでもらって、私たちが夜景にでも立ちます？貞子のトラップワークで不審者の接近を阻むとか。
She was already 3 steps ahead of you, Shion.
甘いですわね、シオンさん。ここは私とリカの家なんでしたよ。常に二重三重のトラップが張り巡らせてありますわ。そうなんだ。神社で遊ぶときは注意しないとね。
With our stomachs full, the mood in the house had returned to a lighthearted tone. True, we shouldn't be so relaxed, but knowing that Ooishi would be here shortly made us feel relieved. But he's so late. He said he'd be here in an hour. Mion mentioned he might have gotten stuck in traffic, but I'm sure Ooishi was considering that. That's why he told me it'd take him about an hour. And it had now been 1 hour since the time Ooishi was supposed to get here. I want to believe that he's getting something to eat on the way, but I'm starting to get concerned. Oh, it's getting later. Ooishi still hasn't shown up. It's almost 11 o'clock. The officers are completely exhausted. They had even started to smoke cigarettes outside. My friends are becoming tired too. Satoko is yawning. It's way past our bedtime. Everyone else is getting tired and sleepy. We've been spending our time watching TV and reading manga. I can feel my fear succumbing to sleepiness. Today is almost over. I'm going to survive the day I'm supposed to die. Does that mean that I escaped my deadly fate? No. I'll have to fight endlessly from tomorrow on. I was going to discuss that with Ooishi. Since he's not here, I don't know what to do from this point on. Suddenly, the phone rang, breaking the silence.
大石さんか。
もしもし、フルでなのです。
It's gonna be Okanogi.
夜分遅くに申し訳ありません。沖宮署の小宮山と申します。
Komiyama! Oh! I remember your name coming up. Hold on, let me look who you are real quick. Higurashi. I remember you from the tier list. Yeah, Komiyama! The character that everyone knows is one of the detectives from the Okamiya Police Department. Oh man. Hey, you gotta mention in the visual novel, Komiyama.
すみません。うちの大石ですが、そちらにおりますか？
いいえ、僕たちもずっと待っているところなのです。
そうですか。わかりました。申し訳ございませんが、そちらに行っている警官に今から応援が行くので、引き継いだら祈祷するようお伝えいただけますか？
わかりましたです。それで、大石はどこに？
夕方頃、直接そっちへ行くと連絡があったきりだったので、てっきりそちらへお邪魔しているものと思っていました。
Okay, so they are getting suspicious.
大石と交代で警官たちが戻ってくることになってたのですが、いつまでも戻らないのでどうなっているのかと思いまして。
That's what I'd like to know. But arguing with the man on the phone wouldn't accomplish anything. I hung up and gave the message to the officers downstairs. It looks like everyone already heard our exchange on the phone.
どうしたんでございましょうね。遅いにも程がありましたよ。
何か重要な仕事があったりして道草でも食ってるとか？
Would Ooishi abandon them all of a sudden if a more important case came up? Likely not, because this is his case. The case of Hinamizawa. He would not abandon the Hinamizawa case for any other case.
それなら電話すると思うな。これから行くって電話したんだよ。これだけ遅くなったら絶対に電話してくれると思うな。
まさか、東京って連中に襲われたとかか？
まさかと言いたいところですが、リカちゃまの言うような連中の相手なら、絶対そんなわけないとも言い切れないのが怖いところです。多分、急用が入ったんだよ。それで電話をするのを忘れてるんだと思う。向こうも大の大人、それも天下の大石だよ。そうそう簡単には消されないって。
来るなら早く来てほしいですわね。ふぅ。
Satoko yawned. Everyone laughs, but some of them are trying not to yawn themselves. We can't stay up forever. We decided that we'd call it a night once the replacement officers arrived. I'm sure I've survived past the time I was supposed to die. That's probably because the police were protecting me. Perhaps both Takano and the mountain dogs are also on my side, and they took care of the murderer. I don't know who is changing my fate. Maybe my fate hasn't been changed, and I'm going to get killed soon anyway. I don't know if it's because of the police or because of the mountain dogs, but the only thing I know for sure is that I'm still alive. Soon, I heard the noise of someone walking on the gravel on the shrine grounds. One of my friends suggested that it might be Ooishi, but I doubt it. I don't want to expect him, and be disappointed when it's not. I'm starting to think like Hanyuu.
こんばんは。沖宮署から参りました。小宮山と申します。
It wasn't Ooishi. Two of his fellow detectives had arrived instead. They were going to stay downstairs and have the 4 officers return home. They also told my friends to leave.
あとは私たち警察がいますので、どうぞ皆さんは家に帰ってください。ご家族の方が心配しますよ。
みんなありがとうです。刑事さんたちが来てくれましたし、もう大丈夫なのです。
本当に大丈夫？邪魔でなければ私たちも泊まるよ。
大丈夫なのです。第一、お布団も寝巻きもないのです。じゃあ明日。これからはなるべくリカちゃんと一緒にいるようにしよう。部活はリカちゃんの家でやるっていうのでどうかな。あら、それなら素敵でございますわよ。僕たちの家の床が抜けてしまうかもしれませんです。
違いねえな。
じゃあ、リカちゃま。私たちこれで帰りますけど、用心してください。暗闇で一人になるなんてことは、絶対しないように。
気をつけますです。じゃあね。また明日。はいです。また明日。
See you tomorrow. Am I really going to see them tomorrow? I have no clue. I've tried so many things over the past 100 years. I've done many things, and I have memories of most of them. That's why I feel so scared on the day I die. It's the only day that I have no memory of. I don't even know if I'm approaching or escaping my death right now. All I know is that this fear is going to continue until I find some kind of solution. As I started getting ready to go to bed, Satoko suggested that I should sleep in my regular clothes, rather than in my pajamas. She was thinking that I should remain dressed, just in case someone tries to attack me in my sleep. It sounded ridiculous, but she was just trying to be considerate. I decided to do what she told me to. Satoko seemed so sleepy until a few minutes ago, but she suddenly started passionately explaining to me all the traps she'd set on the shrine grounds. She assured me that strangers will end up trapped if they try to sneak inside this building. To someone else, it might sound like she was just trying to brag, but Satoko was trying to make me feel better. After everyone else left, she noticed how scared I looked. Satoko's kindness, in everyone else's kindness. I feel like it was the right decision for me to talk to my friends. Even if that won't end up changing my fate.
Rika.
Talk about not changing your fate. Hanyuu showed up again. She looked upset. So she was probably still thinking that I could get killed at any minute. But I'm actually starting to feel a little better. I might get killed tomorrow, but I feel like I can rest safely at least tonight. I'm more concerned about the fact that Ooishi didn't show up. Still, even if he didn't, the other detectives are here, and will stay on guard downstairs without sleeping. As long as they're here, I think I'll be safe tonight.
どうしたの？お腹でも空いたの？出前じゃ甘いのはないからね。冷蔵庫のジュースでも飲む？
Hanyuu would usually cheer right up when I suggested drinking some juice. But not this time. Her face looked pale, as if she wasn't even alive. Something out of the ordinary had clearly happened.
どうしたの？もうすぐ時間がやってきますのです。
Oops. Well, I ruined the pacing of that line. I really screwed the pooch on that one. That sounded far more like a decoration than a prediction. Even Hanyuu doesn't have any memories of my death. There's no way she can tell when I will be killed. However, she sounded so certain just now. Perhaps we can feel it in the very cells of our body. Our bodies understand fate far better than we do. Up until now, I felt reassured that we could get through it somehow if we're all together. But as I clung to that life preserver with the hole leaking air, I was starting to drown in a sea of despair and struggling to keep my head above water. No, I can't let myself feel that way. I have to believe.
大丈夫よ、羽生。私は抗う。たとえ明日殺されるとしても、今夜殺されるという運命にだけは抗う。
Satsuko standing there like, Rika's talking to the demons again. I'll wait. Hanyuu just gave me a look of faint sadness. That silence told me that my pitiful hope was going to push me down into a futile reality. I stared at Satsuko as she continued to brag about her traps. If I'm getting killed shortly, Satsuko won't be safe either. I quickly interrupted her talk about traps. The time was 1 in the morning. As it's hardly a big city, 1 a.m. in Hinamizawa is the middle of the night. The darkness here gets very deep. There was light leaking out from the first floor where 2 detectives sat on guard, but everything else was pitch black. Even the moonlight seemed indistinct.
予定時刻です。1階には刑事2名。2階は消灯してすでに1時間以上が経過します。本部より3佐。結婚。
こんなに月の綺麗な夜だもの。始めなさい。
They weren't even done with the line. I was being trigger happy. It's time. 2 detectives are downstairs. It's been more than an hour since the light went out above them, awaiting orders to begin the attack. What a wonderful night. Beautiful night. You have permission to engage.
刑事は排除でよろしいですか？
そうね。今夜、古出神社にいた人間は全てが忽然と姿を消し、鬼隠しとなる。それでいいわ。
本部より大鳥。作戦開始。保証の刑事2名は実力で排除せよ。なお発砲は許可しない。 繰り返す。発砲は許可しない。本部よりウグイス。大鳥が作戦を開始する。電話線を遮断せよ。
ウグイス了解。遮断する。
They had been working to disable the phone lines, just in case their target tried to contact the police during the attack. That mission was what Ooishi happened to bump into.
ほんじゃ、始めるかいね。大鳥湾より全隊員へ。突入準備。1階の刑事2名と2階の同伴者1名を排除せよ。痕跡を残せん。発砲禁止。ガスも使えんね。テーサーを使え。単銃で武装してるぞ。撃たせるな。
おこのぎ、素人相手に手こずらないでよ。
まあ仕事ですんで。宮遣いの悲しさですわ。大鳥7、8前進。バックアップは周辺警戒を厳重にされたし。
大鳥7、了解。前進する。
The two men in uniform slowly approached the building. The Mountain Dog's uniform is gray, so it didn't blend in with their surroundings at all. However, it doesn't look as suspicious as real camouflage suits. Of course, they look suspicious enough creeping up to the house like that anyway. They could both see light leaking from the door and hear the voices of the detectives. Rika would typically use this sliding door to get inside. The door was locked, but the Mountain Dogs had obtained a spare key a long time ago. They put the key in the keyhole, but it wouldn't go in smoothly. They were certain it would make some kind of noise when they turned it. The detectives would notice them the minute they did that. They'd have to rush inside and defeat them in one swift burst. Phoenixes 7 and 8 glance at each other.
大鳥7より本部、準備位置に到着。突入指示を請う。
高野です。綺麗に決めるのよ。行きなさい。
了解。突入する。
Clack clack! He turned the key in a hurry and opened the lock. By the time the detectives turned around, the door was already open, and the two mountain dogs had stepped inside. They had aimed their weapons at the detectives while the latter were still turning around. In a fight like that, the first 2 seconds are the most crucial moments. The detectives collapse, making minimal noise. There were needles stuck in their bodies, and those needles were connected via wires to the attackers' guns. In other words, the weapons those two had weren't ordinary guns. There were stun guns in the shape of firearms. Instead of bullets, they shoot out electric needles that electrocute their victims into unconsciousness. Normally, they would be non-lethal weapons that allow the shooter to capture their victim without harming them much, but their tasers have been modified. The two dogs started walking up the stairs as soon as they confirmed that the detectives were no longer breathing. But in the next moment, they heard a loud noise above them.
こちら大鳥10。R 以下2名が感づいた。2階の窓から飛び降りたぞ。裏の茂みへ逃走している。大鳥4、5、そっちへ行くぞ。制圧しろ。
大鳥4、沈黙。
Phoenix 4 spotted the two girls and started after them, but he suddenly stepped on something hard. With a cheap-sounding explosion, the area was filled with smoke. That was the trap Satsuko had set using firecrackers. That had proven to be a very fortunate idea. The mountain dogs dropped to the ground, assuming that they were under fire. That gave Rika and Satsuko a chance to escape.
なんなんですのあいつらは。リカの言う東京なんですの。多分ね。いいから走って。捕まったら殺されるわよ。
どうした応答しろ。今の音は何だ。
こちら大鳥5、銃撃を受けた模様。R は突破した。追撃する。
くそ、感触玉か何かだ。畜生め。
She's just having the time of her life right now.
さとこちゃんね。やるわね。
Go watchers, just be quiet right now. Be quiet, everyone who's seen Go. Just be quiet right now.
ああ、情けな。近場の班は急行しろ。人家に逃げ込まれたらアウトだぞ。大鳥18、発見した。追跡中。応援を送れ。
二人は土地勘が強いわよ。早く抑えないと確実に見失うわ。
This wasn't a game of hide and seek. It was a game of tag. Several men in uniform were chasing after Rika and Satoko. They weren't idiots, so they didn't waste energy on a futile act of shouting wait. This was a quiet, deadly game of tag in the middle of the night.
どこへ行きますの？バラバラになって追っ手を振り切りましょうです。落ち合うのはミーの家。地下の隠し部屋なら安全だし、外部と連絡も取れますです。
Satoko had no idea that Mion had a basement in her house, but she didn't have time to ask anything about it under her current circumstances. All she did was knock. Bang! The next moment, I felt my left foot catch on something, and I fell down to the ground. I must have tripped on a rock or a piece of concrete.
リカ！サトコは逃げて！あんたも殺されちゃう！
But Satoko wouldn't move on without me. She came back to lend me a hand. I stood up without her help, but this cost us too much time. One of the men had almost caught up with us. I didn't know what to do, but Satoko, upon seeing him, quickly reacted. Satoko ran toward him and kicked him with all her might. Her foot had landed right in his face. I wish I had a camera. But there were two more of them right behind the first man. I can see them clearly now. They're the gardeners from that landscape company. They're wearing the same uniforms Okanoki is always wearing. They must be the mountain dogs! Now I'm certain that Takano is the culprit. And now that I know that, I can do something about it in the next world. But if I die now, will I lose my memory again? I can't die now. I need to survive so I can keep my memories. Satoko took something out of her pocket and threw it at them. It was something like sand, and it blinded them. She used pocket sand! However, even that could only buy us a few seconds. Satoko tried to run, but she froze as soon as they aimed their weapons at us. Their stun guns are only shaped like firearms. Satoko, not knowing that, thought they were real guns. Knowing that she'll be shot if she turned and ran, Satoko tried to attack them instead. Of course, there are three of them. Most would think it impossible to drive them off, but Satoko didn't think about that. She had a 100% chance of dying if she tried to run. Then she might as well fight back, because she might have a 1% chance of defeating them. Satoko is determined to save me, even at her own expense. But I can't stay in this world if it means losing Satoko. I'm dying anyway. I'd rather die for Satoko's sake than lose her. But another me was shouting in my mind. If I don't survive this, I'll lose this memory. If I die without keeping this memory, this life and everything I've learned will all be wasted. Should I escape and leave Satoko behind? That's right. I should use this experience to my advantage in my next life. I should just let go of her in this world.
無理ね。それができる魔女なんかになれるものか。
But I know in my heart, there's no way I can win against these guys. I'm sure their backup will get here if we take our time to fight them. Should I fight them for her? Or should I leave so I can confront my true enemy? What? Wait, no! Wait, pause! Wait a second. Oh, that was You clever bastards! That was a fake choice! Oh my god, I didn't even put my hands on anything when they did. God dang it! Oh my god, that was so fucking clever. You almost gave me a heart attack right there. Oh my god, I thought that we had two choices for a Minagoroshi alternative end or not having one. Satoko's bravery gives me courage. If I left her, I'd lose my motivation to defeat fate. I don't care if I lose my memories. It only took 100 years for me to get this information. I don't care if I have to spend another 100 years in the same June. I can't leave Satoko!
Satoko, 下がって!二人で戦おうリカ逃げなさいって言いましたですのよ
You know, I can't be laughing at this scene. I shouldn't be laughing. But because of the things that have happened with Go and what I've heard of. God dang it. This brings a lot of different meanings to Minagoroshi now, once you, have a basic knowledge of what's, going on in Go. It makes Minagoroshi quite a different kind of story. In hindsight. I had noticed something. They're only aiming at Satoko. There must be a reason why they can't shoot me. So I stood in front of Satoko to protect her. Just as I expected, they put their guns down and prepared to take us out without weapons.
あんたらは山犬ね。やっぱり黒幕は高野だったのね。私もバカね。あんたたちの正体を知りながら逃げることを選ばないなんて。でもね、私は逃げないの。ここであんたたちに殺されるのが運命だとしてもね。運命なんてね、教えてくれた人がいるから。
They must think this is my final speech. They let me talk until I was finished.
バカな奴らね。だから、あんたたちは金魚が救えないんだ。
The next moment, one of them dropped to the ground. Yes! Oh, yes! Keiichi had run toward him and kicked him from behind. Keiichi had kicked him right in the small of his back, and the dog was squirming on the ground. The other two tried to retaliate, but they were too late. Mion grabbed one of the guy's arms from behind and flipped him down to the ground. It must be some kind of martial art. I've seen something like that in an action movie before. Rena tried to push the remaining dog down with all of her strength, but that wasn't enough to take him out. He tried to aim his gun at Rena, but she had already done what she was supposed to. All she needed to do was get his attention. Shion had snuck up behind him, and she fired her stun gun into his neck. The stun gun made a snapping noise, and the dog fell to the ground with the rest of his friends.
Ooh.
Wait a second. From the dialogue, wasn't Okanogi with them? Hold on. Okunogi's with them, and he got taken down. Huh. Interesting. So his ass was kicked in Minagoroshi and Matsuribashi. Oops, sorry, spoilers.
関西のやつ、改造済みとは言ってたけど、こりゃ効きます。シオン、こっちの連中にもお願い。
大丈夫か、サトコにリカちゃん。まさに危機一髪だったな。お前らの足が速いんで追いつくのに苦労したぜ。
ずっと待っててよかったね。張り込んでた甲斐があったよ。 張り込んでだって、あの後、お家へ帰らずずっと見張っていましたの、皆さんは。帰り際にね、すっごく不審な人がずっと草陰に潜んでて神社を伺ってるのを見つけたの。
いやー、よく見つけたよな、あの暗闇で。レナには嘘も明細も通用しないってことだな。
So, figuring he would leave if they spoke to him, they secretly staked out that suspicious man. They started following us as soon as they heard the sound of the firecrackers.
まさか、ここでみんなに救われるとは思わなかったのです。
とにかくここにいたらすぐに応援が来るぞ。どうするこれから。
私たちミオンさんの家に逃げ込むつもりでしたのよ。地下でかくまってもらえるとかいう話で。
Indeed.
地下最後殿ですか？確かにあそこなら都合がいいです。しかもあそこ、武器も隠してませんでしたっけ？そういうのは言わない。とにかく私もうちに逃げ込むのは賛成。あそこには秘密の通路がいくつもあるから連中の裏をかけるよ。
なら急ごう。追っ手が来てる。
A white van was approaching us at a high speed. It obviously belonged to the mountain dogs. The van stopped not far from us, and more people in uniform jumped out. There were at least 6 of them. If we all run, the slowest runner might get caught. So we should take them down while we can. I don't know if they have a license, but Neon and Shion know how to drive a car. Of course they do. We can take their van and get away from here.
6人だ。ちょうどいいね。全員の全力でぶちのめして車をいただこう。
それは明暗ですわね。
そうと決まりゃ速攻だぜ。
The mountain dogs were ready to chase us. They had no idea that we would try and attack them instead. Rena is always the first one to make a move in this kind of situation. She gets so determined once a decision is made. She immediately singled out one dog and punched him in the nose. Another one tried to grab her from behind, but Keiichi kicked him in the side as hard as he could.
おいおいレナ、やり合うときは背中を気にしろよ。
ケイイチ君に任せるよ。よろしくね。
He will.
レナさんのひなみざわ復帰前ってめちゃくちゃ興味あります。というか人殴るのに躊躇なさすぎ。スタンガン使うのに躊躇ないあんたが言わない。
Given that Shion had that stun gun, the mountain dogs were reluctant to go after her. They were scared of the very dangerous weapon she had in her hand. But thanks to that, Shion had stopped one of them for certain. It was fortunate for us that they didn't have any guns of their own. They had no way of countering Shion's stun gun. Satoko attacked him from behind. She encircled his neck with a jump rope and pulled. Where did she... Wait, pause. Where did she get a jump rope? Actually, no, I'm not gonna question Satoko. That's a terrible idea. Don't question Satoko. She can just make things appear. Shion followed up, quickly hitting him with her stun gun. What was I doing during all that? The only thing I can do is run around and try to get their attention. They are pursuing me, after all. They want to catch me more than anything else. But that leaves them open to attacks from my friends. Keiichi had already hit the one trying to grab me. I think we have a chance here. We may not be able to take all of them down, but we can try and find a chance to escape to their vehicle.
リカちゃんから話を聞いていたとき、 とんでもねえ奴らだとビビっていたが、どうやら俺たちと同等程度みたいじゃねえか。
Yeah, the mountain dogs are pretty weak puppies.
みーちゃんの部活メンバーはつまりそのくらい強いってことなんだね。恐れないというのが多分強さの秘密ですね。お姉の部活は遠慮ってやつをなくす訓練みたいなもんですから。
If we all fight together, we can win this 6-on-6 battle. If any one of us wasn't here, they'd beat us easily. We'd end up dead. If my friends hadn't stayed behind, I would have been killed by now. We can do it! We can make it! The dogs Shion took down with her stun gun were starting to wake up. The ones that we knocked out earlier were also up and chasing us again. We have to get out of here! This isn't the time for me to just be running around.
ちょうどいいわね。やってやるわ。
リカ。
羽生、あなたは相変わらず諦めてるんでしょ。諦めない悪あがきがどれだけの力を持つか、そこで見てなさい。私は打ち破る。私たちは打ち破る。今からね。それをあなたの目の前で見せてあげる。
よし、みんないいね。一撃で決めるよ。目の前の敵を一人撃ち倒せ。それから車を奪って逃げる。
はいです。僕もやりますですよ。
気に入ったぜ、リカちゃん。よっしゃ、行くぞ
On Keiichi's signal, we attacked 6 of the mountain dogs in unison. Time gradually slowed down. I truly felt like I was trying to overcome that impossible wall of time and change my fate. However, time continued to slow even further, until it stopped. What's going on? It felt like the film reel of a movie had gotten hung up part way through. Like time itself has come to a standstill.
羽生、どういうこと？その時が来たのです。どうして？
Wearing a sad expression, Hanyuu pointed at Keiichi. I finally noticed something. All my friends had noticed already, except for Keiichi.
ケイイチ、その胸の前に浮いているのは何ですか？
何ってなんだよ。あ？これなんだよ。
Time had stopped. Just when Keiichi was about to hit his opponent, he then realized that something was floating in front of his heart. It was a metallic silver cone. That was the first thing I could think of.
嘘。ケイちゃん。
Time is up, Rika.
なんだよ、これ。まさか、集団？
That's exactly what it was. The bullet had stopped about 15 centimeters away from Keiichi's chest, just before it would enter his body. That's right. Once time starts moving again, it will slam into his chest. In other words, it's too late. Keiichi will immediately die when time starts up again.
誰が撃ったの？だって相手は6人、誰も銃なんか持ってないよ。あそこ、ワゴン車のところですわ。
Satoko couldn't point at the van. Time had completely stopped, after all. We could see another person standing near the van. There had actually been 7 people inside, not 6. The 7th person was the one who fired the bullet. We hadn't seen her at all. That person is someone we all know very well. Yes, it's Takano.
高野さんだ。高野さんが撃ったの？圭一君を？
In the frozen world, Takano was smiling, still aiming her gun at Keiichi. Takano had been watching us from the van this whole time. She came out and fired her gun, knowing that we hadn't seen her at all.
そっか、なるほどな。やっぱり黒幕は高野さんだったんだな。
Well, the only other option was Irie.
どうしよう。ケイちゃん、なんとか体をひねってかわせないんですか？
バカ、無理なこと言うなよ。弾丸だって止まるくらいに全てが止まってるんだぞ。俺だって動けるわけがねえだろ。
なら時間が動き出すのと一緒に上半身を反らすんですの。そうすれば少しでも違うかもしれませんわよ。
Everyone was desperate to save Keiichi. However, no matter how hard we thought, we couldn't come up with any ideas to save him from the bullet. We were so desperate that Keiichi started to laugh.
なんかよくわからないけどさ。とにかく、こうなっちまったものは仕方がない。時間が動き出せば、俺は死ぬだろう。死ななくても、まあ少なくとも戦力にはならなくなるな。だからみんな、今のうちに俺のことは諦めろ。そして目の前の敵と高野さんをぶちのめして、車を奪うことを考えるんだ。
嫌です。圭一が死んでもダメです。そんな世界は嫌なのです。羽生、これが運命だというの？避けられない運命だというの？大丈夫ですよ、リカ。忘れられます。忘れられますから。嘘だよ、嘘だ！ケイちゃんがこのまま死んじゃうなんて。やめなよ、みーちゃん。とにかく目の前の相手を倒すことに集中しよう。倒れる圭一君に振り返る時間をきっと圭一君は望まない。
ああ、そうだぜ、レナ。頼むぞみんな、リカちゃんを。まずはこの場を逃げ延びて監督に連絡を取れ。多分こいつらは大石さんをもう殺してる。だからあれだけ待っても来なかったんだ。みんな生き延びろよ、絶対だ。
圭一！
リカちゃん、最後の最後にごめんな。運命なんて覆せるって大見え切っておきながら最初にリタイアしちまう。
Adios. Oh, and the culprit is now going to talk. It sounded just like Takano's regular laughter, but it was the scariest noise I'd ever heard.
根性の名残は尽きた？
高野さん、これで俺たちが負けたと思うなよ。
見終わったのね、走馬灯。
The silence suddenly ended, and the clamor of reality returned. An explosive sound then hit Keiichi straight in the chest. I watched Keiichi collapse right in front of me. He fell down on his back, while his blood splattered everywhere. And after that, he stopped moving. There's no way any of us weren't shocked by that. We tried to take down the foes in front of us, but more came from behind. We tried to struggle as best as we could, but there was no way we could win against all those adults. I did my best to fight them off, but they pulled my hair and picked me up as if I weighed nothing. I heard everyone's desperate screams of resistance. The comforting and courageous unity we showed right before Keiji was shot shattered like glass. The debris of that glass lay sadly on the ground. Takano's annoying laughter was still echoing inside my ears.
高野より本部へ。制圧したわ。私の言ったものを準備させて。それから、死体がたくさん出るから処分の手配を。死体袋が5つと、血を流すのに水がいるわね。持ってこさせて。
She needs 5 bags? My body froze up, but time did not. Takano, laughing, pointed her gun at Mion's head.
嘘でしょ。
あなたの背中の入れ墨、一度見てみたかったの。後で見せてもらうわね。
見たければ勝手に見ればいいでしょ。見たってつまらないよ。
そう？私は楽しいと思うわよ。やめて！みー
ちゃんを撃たないで！
Takano shook her head in response to Rena's scream.
ダメよ。ミヨンちゃんが部長さんなんだから一番じゃなきゃね。
Well, you kind of took down Keiji first, didn't you?
嘘。やめ。
There was a dull noise, followed by Mion's body twitching. We all tried to break free from the men restraining us, as Takano calmly shot Mion. However, they were too strong, and all we could do was squirm like insects. Takano was enjoying watching us struggle. She didn't step towards Satoko, but Shion started screaming curses at her.
あなたが先に撃たれたいのかしら？おとなしくしてれば、もう数秒は余計に生きられたのに。
やめてシオンさん。挑発なんかしても意味がありませんでしたよ。
I don't know why she's doing that. Shion wants to protect Satoko for as long as she can. She's trying to do what Satoshi told her to. Takano didn't care one whit for Shion's feelings. Stepping over Keiichi's body, she approached Shion.
私、サトシ君を。あんたが殺したんですね。
I'm sorry, Shion. I didn't mean to skip a part of your line. It's your last one.
そうなんでしょ？
あいにくね、メイドの土産って嫌いなの。だから教えてあげないわ。
Shion's body twitched. That had followed the dull sound of another gunshot. Just two dull sounds had stolen away the lively Sonozaki sisters. It didn't add up. I started shaking from fear when it hit me just how easily Takano can take away lives.
無抵抗の人を撃って楽しいの？この人でなし！
あら、次はあなたが撃たれたいの？黙ってれば最後の順番になったのに。
Keiichi, Mion, and Shion died. The oldest one of us left was Rena. Rena didn't want to see Satoko and me die before she did.
連続開始事件は全部高野さんの仕業だったんですね。お社様のたたりの代行者のつもりだったんですか？
代行者じゃないわ。私がたたりを下すのよ。あ あなたには見せられないわね。お社様の怒りがこれからこの村に下るのは。
Yeah, I knew she was going to say something like this.
それは私が起こす。私のたたり。そう。私はまさにお社様そのものになるのよ。その時、私は人としての域をようやく超えることができるの。まあ、あなたには私の気持ちはわからないでしょうね。人を超えて神になろうとする心地よさなど誰にも理解できないわよ。
無理だと思うな。高野さんがどれだけお社様のふりをしたってお社様にはなれないよ。所詮はごっこ遊び。お社様になんかあなたはなれない。
なれるわよ。これからなるもの。
I can hear in the tone of her voice another character that she has voiced act as. I could definitely hear Ava in her voice right now. Rina laughed at her. Oh, that was Rina! Oh, that was Rina! I thought that was Takano. Takano seemed very upset to hear that laugh.
何がおかしいのかしら。
無理だよ。だってお社様はいるんだもの。
Those were Rina's last words.
さて。
And here we go.
最後はさとこちゃんね。あなたは殺しても殺さなくてもどうでもいいの。でもあなたは生きた研究資料だからね。東京はあなたの生きたままの捕獲に懸賞金をつけてくれてるわ。大した額じゃない。私の取り分はせいぜいヨーロッパに旅行に行ったら消える程度よ。まあ生け捕りにしてもあなたは結局はろくな目に遭わないけどね。生きたまま頭蓋を切開されるのが関の山よ。それに私あなたとはお友達だったしね。この場で撃ち殺してあげるのも優しさかと思ってる。どっちがいい？
そんなの決められるわけないでございますわよ。
Satoko shouted back at her. Her eyes were full of tears.
じゃあクイズ。ブロッコリーとカリフラワー、緑色はどっち？
いえ、ブロッコリー。
Honorary middle finger to Takano? I'm so happy I was able to get through that. God, that was the worst. That one hits the hardest for me. Satoko's. Yeah, Satoko's hits the hardest. No, seeing them all die does hit pretty hard too. Though, I think in the manga, the scene where this happens is definitely a lot more impactful than, you know, the visual novel. Yeah, I think the manga is a little bit more impactful than the visual novel of Minagoroshi. No, Minagoroshi's still a really good visual novel. As soon as I heard that same dull sound, Satoko stopped moving. Takano smiled and said, "Good girl," to what used to be Satoko.
本当に今夜は月の綺麗な素敵な夜だことね。あなたもそう思わない？
Yes.
そして私を殺すのね。
ええ、殺すわ。 女王感染者の死体が作戦の鍵なの。あなたはここから遠く離れた東京の地での醜い政治的勢力争いの具になるのよ。そして鬼ヶ淵村の伝説のピリオドとなる。
私をどういう殺し方にするか、高野の考えそうなことが分かった。
あら、わかるの？
Oh my god! Oh my god, I can't believe I did that. I'm sorry. For all the important lines I do this!
私をどういう殺し方にするか、高野の考えそうなことが分かったわ。
That's all on me. That's all on me. Egg on my face.
言ってみて。
I'm not going to say it, but I know. It's Watanagashi. She wants to do the real Watanagashi, using my body. I'm sure she's planning to cut open my stomach and pull out my guts. To do that, she'll make me inhale some chemical to put me to sleep. I vaguely remember that part.
想像がついてるようね。じゃあ、おやすみなさい、リカちゃん。
One of the dogs approached me with a handkerchief soaked in a chemical substance.
高野、待ちなさい。
みんな潔く死んだのに、あなたは命乞いなの？
違うわ。私を殺すなら、眠らさずに殺しなさい。
Takano hadn't expected to hear that. Still, even though she was surprised, she nodded with a slight smile. Hanyuu was also surprised to hear that. It would obviously be a terrible way to die.
どういうつもり？楽に死ぬ気がないの？辛いわよ。生きたまま腹を裂かれるのは
忘れないためよ。
Yes. I'm going to do this so I'll remember. I'm not going to forget about it.
あなたが私の腹を裂くのを、私は魂に刻みつける。それを私は絶対に忘れない。あなたに再び会ったとき、あなたが敵であることを思い出すために。
何を企んでるやら。でもあなたは他の子たちよりは少しは賢明みたいね。1秒でも長生きすれば悲鳴を上げるくらいのチャンスはあるかもしれないからね。でもそうはさせないわ。
They forced something other than the handkerchief inside of my mouth. It was a gag. With that in, I couldn't close my mouth, leading my saliva to start overflowing. Soon, another van arrived. More mountain dogs came out of it. They had probably come to get rid of the bodies. They grabbed the corpses of my friends and stuffed them into body bags. After that, they sprayed a bunch of water on the ground to clean up the blood. They asked Takano how many shots she fired, and started looking around for the bullets. They were erasing all the evidence. By the time the night was over, there'd be no more proof left. They pulled my hands behind my back, and bound them with handcuffs. My ankles were tied up too. They also tied my ankles. They also tied my ankles and wrists together. My body was bent like a shrimp, and I was no longer able to walk. My mouth was covered, so I couldn't even talk. I couldn't move, talk, or express myself in any other way. They had taken away everything that made me human. Therefore, I wasn't human anymore. I was just a toy named Rika Furude, a toy to give Takano joy. The car started moving. It seemed like we were going back the way we came, but I didn't care anymore. As the time of my death approached, some of my forgotten memories came back to me. That's right. I was killed like this so many times. Every time I repeated my life, Takano got pleasure out of killing me. Somebody rubbed my head. Were they trying to comfort me? I shook my head to try and refuse. They laughed at me as I did so.
Rika!
Hanyuu showed up. She couldn't hold back her devastated tears.
ダメでした。また。
You're the one that gave up hope from the beginning, Hanyuu. I'm sorry, I'm gonna be a little cruel to you right now, but you called this for the longest time. Don't give me those tears. I'm sorry, Hanyuu. Forgive me. I didn't mean to yell at you. Though I think a lot of this could have been a lot different if you did something. When I saw Hanyuu's painful tears, I was convinced. I was wrong. Hanyuu is not just a bystander. She's just too scared to face reality because she can't stand the pain anymore. Hanyuu wants a happy future too. But her hopes were betrayed countless times, and she was hurt far too much. For some reason, seeing her sorrowful expression calmed me down. Perhaps Hanyuu was crying in my place.
いいのよ、羽生。私たち、あれだけ努力した。
Yeah, I feel bad for yelling at Hanyuu earlier. I'll say that now.
精一杯頑張った。もう一息で、運命を覆せそうな予感すらした。それでも届かなかったなら仕方がないし。それにね、なんだか気持ちいいの。
I've never fought this hard in my life. I've never learned so many things. Because I can repeat my life endlessly, I've been taking each one for granted. But everyone else is taking their life seriously. I wasn't learning anything because I wasn't doing that. But I finally understand. I learned something from this life, and I put all my effort into it. So, I'm sad that I didn't make it, but I feel satisfied just the same. It's a strange kind of satisfaction. I wonder how many of these memories I can keep. I get the sense that I'm going to lose my memory of this evening. If that's the case, I will lose my memory of seeing Takano's face. I finally found out that Takano is the mastermind. Am I going to repeat the same world again, not knowing the truth? She killed my friends, as if she were merely killing some bugs. I don't want to forget that! No matter how hard my death will be, I need to remember Takano's face.
羽生、私はくじけない。この記憶がたとえ引き継げなくてもいい。がむしゃらに生きていく。6月の狭い日々にしか生きられなくなり、最後には綿流しの日にしか生きていられない存在になってもいい。それが私の生なら、精一杯生きて、きっと自分の人生を切り開く。僕も忘れません。きっと覚えてて、もしリカが忘れていたら、きっと僕が教えますから。羽生、あなたはやっぱり、冷たい傍観者のふりをしていたのは、悲しさに、怯えていたからなんだよね。僕も、みんなと楽しく過ごす未来に行きたかったです。
Hanyuu started to cry like a baby. She's so stupid. She decided to abandon hope because she didn't want to deal with the sadness that she always felt on this night. But she ended up hurt and devastated anyway. Hanyuu, are you happy that this world is ending just like you predicted? I decided not to ask her such an unpleasant question. The car stopped, and 2 men pulled me out of the vehicle. We had returned to the Furude Shrine. There were several men waiting in front of the offertory box. Nearby, there were countless sharp knives laid out on the ground. They're going to cut my stomach with those tools and pull out my intestines. They took off all my clothes. They left the gag inside my mouth and the handcuffs around my wrist. I wasn't embarrassed to be naked in front of them. Rather, I was just furious that Takano was getting joy out of doing this to me. Don't forget this humiliation. The pain I'm about to experience should be carved into my soul forever. I'm not going to forget this. Everyone worked together, and we finally revealed who was behind it all. If I forget this, my friend's efforts and deaths will have been in vain. I need to stay alive as long as I can, so that I will remember the pain.
羽生、目を背けないで。あなたも見ていなさい。そして心に刻んで。僕には、そのくらいの協力しかできないのでしょうか。
Yep.
触ることも、喋ることもできない僕には、そんなことしかできないのでしょうか。それで十分よ。あなたが目を背けないでいてくれたなら、私も多分、痛みに耐えられると思うから。
Hanyuu nodded and sat right next to me while continuing to cry. We then looked up at the night sky together. The moon was shining brightly, as if it's taking pity upon me. We also looked at the faces of my murderers. That beautiful moon was gradually stained red. It's getting cold. It's so painful. I'm confused with the fear of not being able to do anything about this. But Hanyuu is right next to me. That gives me comfort. It's not just Hanyuu, either. Everyone is here with me. Everyone is there, watching me, so I can stand this torture. That's why it wasn't painful. I didn't struggle. I didn't care about Takano's crazy laughter. This was such a wonderful world. We didn't overcome this fate, but I have no regrets. Of course, I'm still sad. I'm disappointed. My future was right in front of my eyes. My hand could almost reach it. Even so, we did what we could. I have to be proud of myself. Geichi voiced his disagreement. He still felt like we could have done more. We were almost there. We almost defeated this fate. We didn't win, but not because our enemies were strong. We didn't win because we didn't try hard enough.
でも、みんなは心を一つにして頑張っていましたのです。僕は見ていました。全部見ていましたのです。
いや、足りてなかったんだ。運命を打ち破ろうとする意志が全員で結束できていたなら、必ず奇跡は起こせたんだ。
そうなんだよ。
Wait a second. Weren't there their school uniforms? Huh. So after they died, they changed out the school uniforms and they got into their regular clothes. I mean, what else would they want to wear after dying? Let's be honest here. Keiichi needs to wear his shitty clothing style. Actually, I'm gonna be honest here, the PS3 sprite, he has the least shittiest clothes in the PS3 sprites of all sprites. That's one thing I'm gonna say. He has the least shittiest clothes in all of his sprites with the PS3 sprites. Because Keiichi does not have a good fashion sense.
全員が信じたなら、必ず奇跡が起こせるんだよ。
Of course, I am one to judge fashion sense.
さとこもリカちゃまも、みんなよく頑張りました。ごめんなさいですわ、リカ。あなたが打ち明ける勇気を見せてくれたのに、私はあなたを救えなかったですわ。
Satoko held my shoulder and cried.
そうよ。みんなで力を合わせたわ。それでダメなら仕方のないこと。ありがとう。みんな本当にありがとう。多分、あまたの世界と同じ死を迎えるのに、こんなにも諦めがつく死は初めて。この死を代償に、私は本当に大切なことを学んだ。リカちゃん、違うの。奇跡が起こらなかった理由、レナは知ってるよ。
Rena spoke gently, but she wasn't smiling at all. What the hell is she doing with her sprite then?
ねえ、本当にみんな奇跡を起こそうと信じてた？未来を望むとき、全員が信じてなかったら、奇跡は起こらないんだよ。
何言ってんだよ、レナ。俺たちは結束した。団結した。運命を打ち破れることを疑わなかったぞ。なあ、ミオン。
うん。そうだよ、レナ。誰も運命に勝てないなんて思わなかったよ。リカちゃんのこの運命を覆したいと思う誰もが、絶対に運命を打ち破れると信じてたよ。
そうですわ。リカですらそれを信じましたのよ。最後の最後に、リカは私たちを信じて、運命を打ち破れると信じましたのよ。もちろん、レナも信じたよ。でも、信じなかった人がいると思うの。
I wonder who that could be.
誰がです？
What? Who can it be?
ねえ、あなた。
Rena turned to Hanyuu and asked her a question.
あなた、信じてた？運命に打ち勝てるって信じててくれた？
Check.
触れることができなくても、喋ることができなくても、信じることはできるんだよ。あなたも信じてくれたなら、きっと奇跡が起きた。僕が信じて何が変わったのでしょうか。僕は何もできない非力な存在なのです。僕は見ていることしかできない。受け入れることしかできない。そんな僕が信じるだけで奇跡が起こせたというのですか？
Yes.
ああ、起こせたな。
Keiichi stated it clearly. He wasn't trying to blame her. He was just saying the truth.
そうだね。あの時、こっちは6人だった。向こうは7人だった。あなたが信じてくれてたら、それだけで心は7つだった。だったなら、きっと奇跡が起きた。奇跡はね、触れたり、喋ったりで起こすんじゃないんだよ。信じる気持ちが起こすんだよ。
Hanyuu had realized that this ending wasn't caused by fate. It was because she didn't believe. In other words, this happened because she was so weak as to accept this fate. She started crying again.
名前も知らないあなた。あなたにも悲しみや辛さと戦う勇気が必要だった。あなたも運命と戦う勇気が必要だった。あなたが望んだなら、みんなが望む世界にきっと行けた。それが、あなただけが信じなかっただけでたどり着けなかったなら、それは、あなたの責任なの。
It was hard to believe Rina could say something so harsh. Her words were piercing Hanyu's heart, but those words were necessary for me and for her. Only fate can create a miracle. That sounds like something you might hear in a fairy tale. It's not easy to put it into action. People suspect others. They don't trust others. It's easier to not have hope. It's so difficult to believe. That's why faith can make miracles happen.
僕は、触れないのですよ。喋れないのですよ。そんな僕でも、信じれば奇跡が起こったというのですか？
You know it.
だって今、こうして、レナとあなたは話しているよ。私は、あなたと言葉を交わしたのは、これが初めてだけれど、いつもあなたがいるのを知っていた。
She always existed in our hearts.
あなた
I'm
に
sorry, I'm being obnoxious.
言葉をどうすればかけられるか考えていたよ。私たちが楽しく遊んでいるとき、あなただけが輪の外から眺めていたことを知っていたんだよ。だって、輪の中に入りたくても、僕は誰にも見えないし、話しかけられないし、僕を見たらみんな化け物だと言いますです。僕はもう二度と化け物と言われたくないのです。
誰が言うよ、そんなことを。俺たちと一緒にいたなら、俺たちは仲間だ。
そうですわよ。仲間のことを化け物呼ばわりなんて失礼しちゃいますわ。
化け物かどうかは容姿じゃなくて、心で決まるんだよ。
Where's Mion's nose?
ね、シオン。そういうことです。
Where's Shion's nose?
まあ、その見地から言えば、私の方がよっぽど化け物ですよ。
頭に角が生えていても、僕は化け物とは呼ばれないのでしょうか？身体的特徴で化け物なんて誰も呼ばないよ。むしろキュートなくらいだよ。
レナに気をつけろ。変に気に入られるとお持ち帰りされるぞ。
I realized then that I was standing with everyone, looking down at my own body. I see. I'm finally dead. I looked at my bloody body by my feet. It upset me that Takano was still enjoying the torture, but the body that remained was nothing but a shell.
大丈夫か、リカちゃん。
Hey, they're all ghosts now!
死んだ人に大丈夫かとは変な話なのです。
Everyone smiled widely. It's my first time feeling so much love and death. Everyone is already dead. That's why I feel so happy to be dead, to join them. Suddenly, the world got darker, and my body started to sink downward. Goodbye, Rika Furude. And we are about to enter Matsuri Bayashi. Maybe. I could feel myself disappearing. I still had the sensation of my friend's hands on mine.
行こうぜ。みんな。
そうだね。行こい。あなたも、みんなという言葉に含まれてるんだよ。
I'm sorry. I've not done this in a while. I've not done so many stupid mistakes in a while. I'm sorry.
ほら、いつまでも泣いてないで。行こう。
No. Oh my god. I've never seen this image before. Oh god, I've never seen this before. Can I see the full image if I press backspace? No. I'll see it in post-editing. Oh man. Oh. I'm actually crying. Oh. No, seriously, where are the Sonozaki twins' noses? My vision had gone dark, but somehow I could still see. Rina offered her hand to Hanyuu, and Hanyuu slowly took it. Please tell me Hanyuu's joining this image.
羽生、あなたが私と出会う前に、どんな悲しいことがあったか知らないけれど、みんなは、絶対にあなたを受け入れてくれるわ。僕がいても楽しいでしょうか？
Indeed.
僕はみんなに受け入れてもらえるのでしょうか？
Stop questioning yourself.
だから、おいで。
Rina touched Hanyuu's hand. It felt like everyone else laid their hands on top too. If only they had hands to do so. Let's go, Hanyuu. Let's accept this sorrow, so we can embrace joy as well. Believe in the bright future that's waiting for us. The miracle will happen. We will obtain it. Okay? Yes, Hanyuu said, with a definitive nod. Ah, she's not gonna join the image, is she? Oh. I think there's... Oh. What's outside of the well? Is it something worth fighting for? What's outside of the well? Is it something worth getting hurt for? What's outside of the well? I'm going to fight and get hurt in order to find that out. I'm sure what's waiting is a beautiful world, even if I get to the bottom of the well again. The key to the new world is my willingness to get out of here, even if I can get out or not. I will eventually get to the new world. Higurashi When They Cry. Chapter 7. Minagoroshi. Staff credits. I can read the first name. Rikishi 07. Man. God. This is the best arc of Higurashi. This is the best arc. Hands down. I don't think anything can surpass Minagoroshi in my opinion. Honestly, I know that many people think Minagoroshi is a boring arc, for which I can understand. It's a boring arc, and it's kind of painful. But that's what makes it so amazingly written. Like, the payoff you get from Minagoroshi is worth it. All the way. All the way. Every time I've reread Minagoroshi, no matter how much pain I get, it's just amazing each time. It gets better and better. I thought that when I first watched the anime of Higurashi. I thought that when I read the manga of Higurashi, Minagoroshi. And I thought that all throughout playing this visual novel version of Minagoroshi, the original version that Minagoroshi comes from. Well, technically not the original, since I do not have the Dojin game from Japan, so technically this is not an original version. But at the same time, it's written like the original. And when I reread the manga Minagoroshi, I'm gonna like it the same, just the same. I think the manga is a lot better than a visual novel. I'm gonna be fully honest here. I think the manga is a lot better, but I'm gonna have to reread the manga to make that judgment. But damn. Minagoroshi's the best arc. Minagoroshi is the best Higurashi arc. Higurashi when they cry kai. Well, 7th expansion presents Welcome to Hinamizawa when they cry. Wait, isn't there something after this? Oh, yes, there is something after this, isn't there? Yes! Oh. Emergency Manual Number 1. If the existence of a terminal patient, L5, is confirmed, the Institute Director must resolve the situation before the L5 begins engaging in antisocial behavior. However, they must ensure that the secret remains hidden. To that end, the Director may also request assistance from the Secretary Preservation Unit. As for the Secrecy Preservation Unit, that's what I meant to say. They may request permission to fire from the Institute Director if necessary. All efforts should be made to secure the L5 subject is alive. But if that proves obstructive to maintaining secrecy, their life may be forfeit. At all times, maintaining secrecy and preventing exposure will be of the highest priority. However, preserving secrecy will take priority over preventing exposure. Emergency Manual Appendix 9, FAQ. Q. Can Emergency Manual 34 be administered if an outbreak of L5 occurs, putting matters beyond the control of the Secrecy Preservation Unit? Additionally, is the Institute Director responsible for determining what constitutes as an out-of-control situation? Answer. Yes. Question. If an accident occurs and a hazardous material, the H170 series, is exposed to the public, can Emergency Manual 34 be administered? Answer. Yes. Question. If an accident has occurred and the nature of the institute is revealed to the public, the Secrecy Preservation Unit will take steps to resolve the situation. However, if this information is spread too widely, can Emergency Manual 34 still be administered? Additionally, is the Institute Director responsible for making that decision? Answer, yes. Question. The decision to execute Emergency Manual 34 must be carefully deliberated over and sanctioned by an official. However, in the case of emergency, does the Institute Director have the right to make the final decision? Answer. The execution of Emergency Manual 34 must be sanctioned by an official at all times. However, the Institute Director may petition the urgency of its use to an official. Emergency Manual Number 34. Reproduction or removal of this document is prohibited. This manual may only be read with the appropriate permissions. This manual will only apply upon approval by the highest authority. Nothing short of official authorization shall count as approval. Furthermore, those authorized to apply this manual must make their This is my first time reading this. Furthermore, those authorized to apply this manual must make their decision as soon as possible when it is required. One more time, then no more mistakes. Furthermore, those authorized to apply this manual must make their decision as soon as possible when it is required. If the situation threatens to spiral out of control, and the official exceeds that this is the case, the Irie Institute must make the final decision to preserve the secret and prevent its detection by others. The following is an outline of how to execute that final resolution. Terminate all patients above L2. Destroy all evidence inside the Institute. conceal the fact that this manual was administered. The contents of this manual must be executed by the Institute Director within 48 hours of the incident. If the Director is not available, the Chief Officer must execute it in its place. The Institute Director may demand support from the Chief Officer in executing this manual. If this manual is expected to be executed, the Chief Officer may issue the preliminary orders. The final resolution must be executed in the following steps. Disguise the incident as a natural gas disaster and quarantine the area. The quarantine unit must disguise themselves as police officers and isolate the Hinamizawa region from the outside world. The official explanation must be that there is a gas disaster within the village. The equipment for the operation will be stored at a vacant lot, where Yagoshi Quarry used to be. The equipment must undergo routine maintenance. In the event of external breach or internal escape, if they do not respond to notice of the gas disaster or orders to evacuate, use of firearms is authorized. The approval to use firearms is given by the Chief of the Secrecy Preservation Unit to the Chief of the Traffic Blockade Unit, shutting down all communications. The Communication Sabotage Unit must ensure that all forms of communication, including radio, have been disabled in the Hinamizawa area. They must take care not to fall under suspicion, and communications must be disrupted for a minimum amount of time. The facility belonging to the telephone company is inside of the traffic blockade, so any civilians inside may be shot and killed. The Chief of the Secrecy Preservation Unit may give permission to use lethal force to the Chief of the Communication Sabotage Unit. Oh, wow. Assembling the infected carriers. The Secrecy Preservation Unit must assemble the infected populace in the Hinamizawa Regional Disaster Shelter. Refer to the enclosed documents for gathering procedures. Upon assembly, the unit must count the number of the infected and confirm everyone is present. Be sure to not allow the infected to expose the true nature of the gas disaster. Additionally, the infected must not be allowed to bring any large personal belongings with them. However, they may take their valuables, including bank books and cash. Infected who refuse to assemble may be shot, but the Chief of the Secrecy Preservation Unit must carefully consider the decision to do so. Terminating the infected. Once they are assembled, the Secrecy Preservation Unit must terminate all of the infected. Before that point, care must be taken to ensure that they are not suspicious of the story of the gas disaster. Be sure that they are treated as humanely as possible. If any problems occur, the unit has approval to fire their weapons. The Chief of the Secrecy Preservation Unit must also make that decision. Bodies with gunshot wounds should not be placed together with those that have been poisoned. Concealment of the Institute. The Institute Concealment Unit must collect all the classified items, referred to the 193 items in the appendix, in the Institute in order to suppress the evidence. Refer to the appendix for more detailed instructions. The research staff at the Institute must assist with this operation. This unit must exercise extreme caution, as they will be handling a number of toxic substances. Strict quarantine must be maintained of the concealment block. The airproof door must be welded shut, and the underground area must be flooded. The entrance to the area must be welded shut and concealed completely. Furthermore, the concealment block will be completely removed within 3 years. The Institute Concealment Unit must eliminate all civilians who try to approach the Institute. The use of firearms is not permitted, except in emergencies. The Chief of the Secrecy Preservation Unit may give the order to fire. Searching the village. The Secrecy Preservation Unit must search the whole village for any survivors. Any person who was not present during the assembly must be found. Any survivors found after the termination of the infected may be shot immediately. However, if the survivor is willing to surrender, do not shoot, and instead take them into the custody of the Secrecy Preservation Unit. The unit must then terminate the captive, using the same method as for the other infected. Host mission transferred to General Forces. Transfer the job to the official disaster recovery team. Make sure not to arouse suspicion. Complete withdrawal. After the completion of all operations, the Secrecy Protection Unit will retrieve from the Hinamizawa area. They must be careful not to be suspected by the disaster recovery team. Furthermore, the Institute will continue to secure the concealed block until complete removal is finished. The Queen and her carriers. It is assumed that the pathogen has the same characteristics as creatures such as ants. There is a queen of the carriers of the disease, just like there is a queen ant, and this position has been passed down the line of the Furude family. This assumption is made based on the legends and ancient writings that have been passed down in the village. It is already confirmed that the carriers have a tendency to protect their queen. Additionally, the queen carrier can only survive within the boundary of the village. Probability of outbreak. As ordinary patients will become ill when they travel far away from the queen, it's assumed that the further and longer they are away from her, the higher the chance of symptoms occurring becomes. Also, mental state plays a strong factor as well, and it's estimated that those who are especially emotionally unstable or show strong yearning for their home are more likely to exhibit symptoms. It is believed that the Takano relaxation method is the most effective means of suppressing symptoms, but if the patient still shows no improvement, only returning them to their home and the queen will be effective. Concerning terminal patients. Terminal patients, as they suffer from an extreme persecution complex, are incapable of functioning within society. Cases of arson and murder have been confirmed. They may present severe problems for their units. Records show that terminal patients appear even in Hinamizawa, and they will not recover if relocated near the queen. Even if relocated nearer the queen. Yeah. Therefore, the decision to dispose of the problem must be made as soon as possible. It's recommended that the infected be quarantined before they start behaving irregularly. We suggest tracking down those formerly from Hinamizawa and placing them under special medical observation. The collapse of the carrier community. For all the aforementioned reasons, we predict that should the queen carrier die, the infected villagers will exhibit terminal symptoms on a village-wide scale. Terminal symptoms will begin showing within 24 hours at the earliest, and 48 at the latest. For that reason, the final decision must be made within 48 hours. Based on the size of the village, neither ordinary officers nor the military police may be able to control the chaos they may bring. We believe the best response is to treat them as an armed, anti-national uprising, and immediately suppress them with the military. January 1945. 2. Colonel Koizumi of the Supreme Council for the Direction of War. From the Fumitakano. June 23rd, 1983. Document E-420 for the 58th Defense Commissioner and TCOM 733 Commander. TCOM 733 is hereby ordered to be on standby within 24 hours, armed for urban suppression. The company commander must also thoroughly study Emergency Manual 34. Select personnel carefully with the preservation of secrecy in mind. Additionally, test the effectiveness of the vaccine with the support of the National Research Center of Infectious Diseases. Employ those with positive immunity. June 23rd, 1983. Document E-711 for the 58th Director of the NIHS. Additional equipment testing company commander 733. The National Research of Infectious Diseases. Infectious Pathogen Department, Suite 13. Official seal omitted. About the Hinamizawa Syndrome. This is information regarding the Hinamizawa Syndrome. The Hinamizawa Syndrome is an infectious disease caused by a virus. There are no initial symptoms. Instead, their onset begins when the patient's emotional state becomes unstable, or if the queen carrier dies. The main symptoms of the illness are hallucinations and emotional instability, paired with an extreme persecution complex. Furthermore, patients are frequently unaware of their own mental abnormalities, making identification outside examination nearly impossible. The only way to do so is by observing symptoms indicative of terminal abnormal behavior. In many cases, patients engage in antisocial behavior, which is the largest issue created by the syndrome. This behavior is caused by hormonal factors, as this disease mainly affects the mind as opposed to the body. In the end, the patients will experience extreme irritation in their lymph nodes, and they will claw at their throat or wrist. Wait, earlier wasn't there a statement about armpits? What happened to the armpits? This is the only symptom that is recognized by the patient. Important points regarding the sterilization operation. This is an advisory notice for the virus control. The pathogen is an airborne infectious virus. Therefore, no effective preventive methods exist, and inoculation is required. After the mission is completed, all staff members must take a medical exam, and those with positive test results must come forward. Be cautious when interacting with the villagers. Even after inoculation, any contact with their bodily fluids will cause infection. Do not come into direct contact with them. If assumed infected, individuals must use the testing syringe and test themselves for the disease. If you feel an extreme irritation in your lymph nodes, it's likely you have terminal symptoms. In that case, you must get tested immediately. If test results come out positive, inject the treatment medication C120. If the irritation persists after 10 minutes, use a second injection. If there is still no change in symptoms, seek treatment at HQ. Do not use C120 if your test results are not positive. If used on a healthy body, symptoms of high fever, rashes, dilated pupils, and hallucination will be observable within 10 minutes. If this occurs, one must seek treatment at HQ. Government officials explained the entire situation in a luxurious meeting room adorned with a marble table and crystal ashtrays. The chief cabinet secretary was in panic. He never heard about any of this before. Feelings of panic were only natural. One girl's death was going to drive 2,000 villagers into a frenzy. Hearing that a disease like that exists was surprising enough. But on top of that, it was secretly researched for military use, and now there was a horrific situation caused by the director of the local research institute engaging in embezzlement.
そんな危険な病気、初めて聞いたよ。
So they're blaming Irie.
本当に治療の手段はないのか？
はい。国立研究所の説明では、重度感染者の発症に対する治療法は確立したばかりで、全住民への対応は事実上不可能とのことです。最短で24時間以内、長くとも48時間以内に山荘の人口2000人が全て末期発症するとのことです。甚大な被害と影響が予想されます。
The danger of this Hinamizawa syndrome was explained over and over again to the chief secretary. He didn't have anything more to say. But that didn't mean he could blindly accept it either. He simply couldn't believe that the only way to resolve the situation was to kill all 2,000 infected villagers.
そりゃ大変なことになるのはわかるけど、そんなの許可できるわけないだろう。そもそも、なんでこんな危険な病気を隠蔽して研究なんかしてたんだ？
Good question! Really good question!
そもそもそういう事態を招いたのはその関係の連中の責任じゃないのかね。第一、こんな危険な研究は今や日本の国益に貢献しないどころか損ないかねんぞ。どうして昭和の58年までこんな馬鹿げた研究をしていたんだ。報告書によれば研究目的のために撲滅を意図的に遅らせていたそうじゃないか。しかも汚職をめぐるトラブルの果てにこんな事態だ。これはテロだよ、テロ！東京の老害だ！こんな研究を指示していた人間には全員責任を取ってもらうぞ。いつまでも大戦の亡霊に取り憑かれている連中を追放したまえ。これは 東京の海を出すいい機会じゃないのかね。
責任者の追及は必ず行いますが、それより前に対応を考えなければなりません。
A man standing by the window slowly turned around and opened his mouth.
総理、ご決断を。
滅菌作戦を承認しない場合のシミュレートを聞かせてください。
はい。今から36時間後には、村人のほぼ10割が末期発症。末期的な被害妄想に取りつかれ、反社会的な行為を行います。想定されるのは、自殺、殺人、放火、強盗、その他、異常行動。治安の完全なる崩壊です。騒動は、おそらくひなみざわ地区のみでなく、周辺地区へも波及します。結果、世界規模での注目を浴びることになるでしょう。民間の独自調査の結果、奇病が原因であることが発覚するのは食い止められません。野党は、奇病の対応の不手際を政争の具に、次期選挙を有利に運ぶでしょう。
That would be quite the election year.
また、東京内でも総理の対応に批判が高まるでしょう。彼らの指示は総理の列島改造に欠かせません。そして何よりも軍事目的での研究が政府内部から暴かれる可能性があります。これだけは断固阻止しなくては我が国に致命的信用ダメージを与えかねません。
逆に滅菌作戦を承認した場合はどうなりますか？
はい。自然災害を装いますので、やはり対応の不手際の野党追及は避けられません。ただし、奇病研究について発覚することはないでしょう。もし万が一、奇病の軍事的研究が世界に発覚したら、我が国はアジア地域でのイニシアチブを完全に喪失します。
他国の援助を受ける政党は一大キャンペーンを張るな、売国どめ。そうなれば野党の政権奪取は必至だよ。日本は宣戦布告なくして占領されるぞ。
シミュレートの結果では第2党第3党が連立した場合、与野党の勢力は完全に反転します。国際世論は我が国を一斉に非難。国連に対し NBC 兵器開発疑惑の査察を要求するでしょ
う。Weapons of mass destruction. Yeah.
近隣国は政府主導でバッシングキャンペーンを展開。高支持率を背景に対日外交を強硬路線に転換します。我が国は政治的焦土と化すでしょう。
国際信用はペンペン草一本残らんということかね。くさ。
Yeah, why was this sort of thing kept a secret even from the people running stuff? Like, hold on. Was research into Hinamizawa syndrome a secret from the Prime Minister and most of his cabinet? What? What's this a secret? From the Prime Minister and all of his people in his cabinet, this Hinamizawa syndrome. So they researched a disease in a small village, kept it secret even from the top officials of the country. Oh my god. Honestly, this was coming. This was sort of coming because you don't mess with diseases. You don't mess with viruses. You don't mess with them and try to make a weapon out of them. This sort of shit happens. Don't make weapons out of diseases. This was kind of going to happen if you're trying to make a weapon out of a disease. And no, don't make conspiracy theories. From what I'm saying right here. Don't make conspiracy theories. I'm talking about a fictional game. I'm talking about a fictional game that maybe could teach some lessons in real life. But do not make freaking conspiracy theories based off of what I said in this video. Oh my god.
つまり、Hinamizawa地区と周辺自治体の数十万人だけの問題では済まんということだな。しかし、すべてを闇に葬るための犠牲が2000人とは多すぎる。
日本国内において生物兵器研究が行われていたことが露呈することだけは避けなければなりません。
私はどうやら大戦の亡霊の尻を吹く羽目になりそうですね。
滅菌作戦は計画通りに隠密で実行できるのかね。滅菌作戦が発覚すれば奇病研究以上の大スキャンダルになるぞ。
はい、ご安心ください。それにつきましては自衛隊内の機密保持に特化した専門部隊が当たります。このような事態を想定し研究と訓練を重ねた部隊です。万一の失敗はありえません。
都市沈黙戦という言葉は初めて聞きましたが、これはガスによる虐殺のことですね。
I'm surprised this Prime Minister is calm during this situation. I'm surprised he seems calm during this.
自衛隊に合戦を習熟した部隊があったとは驚きました。
My biggest question! You do something like this, try to make a biochemical weapon, and you have so many, different groups working on this, and you didn't explain it to the main government? I can understand why they wouldn't tell the Prime Minister or any other people outside of the people who are, trying to make this into a weapon, because any other person would know they probably should not do that. They probably should not risk an entire village's life to make a weapon.
ガス防護を知るにはガス栓を知らなければなりません。ガス虐殺に備えるにはガス虐殺を知らねばなりません。装備実験隊は日本国が受ける可能性のある全ての攻撃に対し日夜研究を重ねています。
He let out a small sigh. He couldn't see the line between ethical and unethical. Can any research be justified by the excuse of preparing against hostilities? But that's also what preparation was all about. Some evils must be accepted as necessary. The Irie Institute was one such evil.
明かせぬ研究を葬るために明かせぬ方法を取るか。罪悪感の伴う任務だが、隊員から事実が漏れ出すことはないのかね。
ありえません。隊員は第一空挺から精鋭を選抜し、さらに高い忠誠心を持つ者のみで構成しております。実戦はこれが初めてになりますが、練度は極めて高く、内部の機密保持も問題ありません。
まさに暗殺の専門部隊ですね。
総理、どうか緊急マニュアル第34号の執行にご決裁をお願いいたします。
防衛庁長官、この作戦は必ず成功しますか？事件が大騒ぎになる前に食い止められますか？いえ、犠牲者を最小限に抑えられますか？
はい、総理。すでに予備命令を発し、作戦準備に入っております。ご決裁がいただければ、直ちに出動して作戦に入ります。
I have to feel kind of bad for this Prime Minister. I have to feel kind of bad for anyone in that room right now, except for the people who are responsible for what's going on here. Like, the people who are responsible for this, the people who are developing this and keeping this a secret, no sympathy for them. But for the people who didn't know about it, I actually feel bad for them. Because it seems like even the person who's supposed to be the leader of all these people didn't even know what they were doing. Like, yes, not everything a prime minister... Like, not everything... Yeah, I know that leaders don't know everything that's being worked on in their own government. Like, they can't because, well, there's just a lot of stuff that goes into government. But for something like this is probably a thing that you should probably tell the person you elected to lead. So I have to feel a little bit bad for this guy.
私には人口2000人を虐殺する命令など下せません。ですが、内閣総理大臣として犠牲者を最小に抑える義務もあります。
胸中をお察しします。
長官、どうか犠牲者が一番少なくて済む方法を選択してください。2000人がどうしても治療できないなら、不必要な犠牲者が出ないよう迅速な対応をお願いいたします。
はい。
And thus leads to the Great Hinamizawa disaster.
ご決裁を感謝いたします。必ずや朗報をお持ちいたします。
2000人の犠牲が朗報と呼べるなのですがね。奥野くん、東京の皆さんに近日中にお会いできる席を設けてください。今回の件について釈明を直接聞かせていただきたいと思います。
Yeah! They probably are gonna have to tell him everything that they were supposed to have told him at the beginning of their project.
わかりました。
ところで、その問題の研究所長の入江氏は逮捕しましたか？
いえ、服毒自殺とのことです。研究の終了が自身の人生を否定されたものと悲観しての発作的犯行と思われていますが、何が目的だったやら。
彼を凶器に駆り立てた理由は永遠に闇の中ということですか。
The execution of Emergency Manual 34 is approved. June 23rd, 1983. Prime Minister. Director General of the Defense Agency. Here we go.
皆さん、輸送の都合で荷物を持つことはできません。手荷物は禁じます。繰り返します。手荷物は禁じます。現金通帳印鑑の類だけを携帯してください。混乱防止のため車両避難は禁じています。
It was the middle of the night, and yet countless villagers were out and about. Some of them were locking their doors, some of them were watering their plants, and some of them were piling up food in their dogs' dinner bowls. Small children were crying in fear. Members of the town council were yelling angrily while counting up the villagers. Reportedly, the village had been cut off from the rest of the world after volcanic gas gushed out of the mountains. The number of policemen and military units in the village, add to the strong smell of sulfur in the air, dispelled any doubts the villagers might have had. The more religious among the elderly were convinced that this was the curse of Rika, who had passed away the day before. They were certain that Ooishi-sama was enraged, and that the door to hell had been opened. Soldiers wearing gas masks guided the villagers to the evacuation center.
なんで兵隊さんは災害なのに鉄砲を持ってきとるしゃ。
皆さんが避難した後の家屋を守るためです。また災害に便乗して商店を襲撃するボートに対してです。
Hinamizawaにそんな輩はおらんのじゃ。
第一小隊避難誘導順調。
God, this scene's actually very upsetting.
了解。一個分隊を応援に向かわせます。
兵隊さん、じいさまの位牌を持ってんじゃならんがね。
位牌は構いません。急いでください。町会の方は天候を怠らないように。歩行困難な方は申し出てください。隊員が補助します。
おお、リカちゃまが殺されたからお社様が大怒りになったのじゃ。
お社様、お社様、お社様、どうか怒りをお鎮めください。
防災訓練通りに避難しちゃり。班長は天候終わったら町会役員に連絡せんかいで。
鬼ヶ淵から正気が溢れ出したね。お社様はお怒りだね。
こんなに大勢いるんじゃん。助かる方法なんかなかとよ。村で死なせてくれな。
大丈夫です。輸送ヘリとボーガス仕様のバスが回されます。必ず助かりますから。
みんな、エリン署へ集まれ。4丁目は違うだろう。郵便局裏の公民館だぞ。
皆さん、防災訓練と同じです。落ち着いて災害時避難場所に集合してください。団体行動をお願いします。一人の乱れが全体の足を引きます。どうか団体行動。家には必ず戻れます。
The villagers couldn't see the expressions under the soldier's gas mask. They wondered what kind of expressions they were hiding under there. The soldiers were, of course, lying to the villagers, knowing that they would never return to their homes again. One such trooper cried under his mask, but the villagers never saw his tears.
引き返してください。車両での避難は禁止されています。この先はガス流で寸断されており危険です。あんたにも硫黄の匂いがわかるでしょう。
Some people tried to leave in their cars, so as to take large items with them. However, the quarantine unit had sealed off all roads leading outside. The gas mask of the troopers and the smell of the sulfur persuaded them to return and obey their instructions. Some of them tried to contact Okinamiya, but their phones would not connect. The lines were busy, no matter how much they tried. They simply assumed that the phone lines were overwhelmed because of the disaster. Some of the villagers had access to radios. They tried to figure out what the situation was like outside, but all they could hear over the radio was loud static. It was the same with the television. They couldn't contact anyone outside of the village, so they really were totally isolated. And so, they had nothing to rely on but the instructions of the police and the military. They were all like moths heading towards light, never doubting that they would be safe there. One old war veteran listened to the noise from the radio and muttered.
アメさんの妨害電波食らった時もこんな音がしたんね。
As it turned out, he was absolutely correct. However, he turned off the radio when his son urged him to evacuate. The villagers had all gathered at their evacuation points. Some of them were at the school, and some were at the community center. They were to stay in the building until the evacuation vehicles arrived. The soldiers told them to stay inside, so they could keep track of the number of evacuees.
万一のガス流に備えて窓はすべて閉めてください。念のため窓ガラスはテープで目張りします。申し訳ございませんがご協力をお願いいたします。よし来た。若いのは率先して手伝え。
People started to seal up all the windows and vents with the duct tape that was handed to them. God damn it. Fuck you to Takano again. I'm gonna have to give another finger to Takano. I want to give a finger to another character, but they appear in the next chapter, so I can't say their name just yet, but... Fuck them. Okay. Fuck. God damn it. The villagers did nothing wrong. God damn it. Reading the visual novel is a lot more upsetting than... When I saw this scene in the anime and manga, I was not as upset as I was now. But actually reading it in the visual novel, I'm actually getting legitimately kind of upset over what's going on right here. The Great Hinamizawa disaster is probably one of the hardest parts to read of Minagoroshi now that I'm thinking about it now. Like, this scene is actually getting to be really hard for me to read. Damn. Oh my god. Like, everything with Satoko earlier in this game was really tough to read in the visual novel form, but this scene in general, I think this scene's the hardest part to read, because there are no winners in this situation, and the situation was all caused because some people wanted to develop a weapon, and it really backfired hard, and innocent people have to be killed because of the stupid idea of making this infectious disease into a weapon. Instead of working to figure out how to solve the mysteries of this disease, they went to weaponize it. As I said many times in this video, don't fuck with diseases. Don't fuck with viruses. Don't make them into a weapon. Don't make them into a weapon. They completely sealed every opening, even as they heard the disquieting conversation of the soldiers. It was long past 3 a.m., but everyone was wide awake with fear. They were having an extremely long night. Coincidentally, the end to their night had almost arrived.
全部お社様のたたりないしゃ。リカちゃま、リカ様、お社様、お社様。
やっぱり古手神社の鬼隠しはお社様のお怒りの騒ぎぶれだったんだ。
あの日、古手神社は鬼の国に飲み込まれたんよ。リカちゃまは鬼たちに腹渡を食らわれたんじゃ。
They all started saying that the gas disaster was caused by the curse of Ooishi-sama, and Rika's death, and the mysterious disappearance of her friends, and the two detectives were also the result of the curse. People started talking about being demoned away. They had no idea that Keiichi and his friends' short battles sealed their fate for that night. The more religious villagers had become convinced that the children and the detectives went missing, because they volunteered to become a sacrifice to calm Ooishi-sama's anger after Rika's death. They didn't know the truth. They couldn't know. Not one realized that Keiichi and his friends' efforts had all been in vain. Indeed, in Hinamizawa, everything that happens is the will of Ooishi-sama. But why did it have to be that way? Before the series of mysterious deaths occurred, no one really used the term the curse of Ooishi-sama that frequently. In other words, who set them up? People in this village were set up to believe that the curse of Ooishi-sama happens every year. They really are just too superstitious.
サンさん、全小隊が点呼を終了しました。遅れていた自主避難者もさっき最後の家族が合流したようです。全員揃いました。
そう。
Bitch.
いよいよね。お社様のたたりが現実となる。
We'll see more of her story later on, and no matter what in Takuno's story, she's a great villain. I'm gonna say this now, Takuno's a great villain, but that's not gonna stop me. That's not gonna stop me from saying anything I can about her, because I'm gonna be honest here. Yes, I do pity her, and I do think she's a great villain. At the same time, nothing can fucking excuse what she does at the end of this chapter.
お社様の生まれ変わりである古出リカを綿流しにするという冒涜によって、お社様の怒りが村に下される。それで、この5年間の連続したたたりは、本当の神罰に昇格される。もう誰にも事件なんて呼ばせない。これは、荒ぶる神の怒りなのだから。始めなさい。
中隊長より全隊員へ、彼らのために1分間の黙祷を捧げよう。サンサ、1分だけご許可を。
お好きになさい。
Takuno gave him a disparaging laugh. The company commander crossed his heart. He began to speak.
天に召します我らの父よ。罪なき彼らをどうかお導きください。彼らの尊き犠牲がそれ以上の犠牲を防ぐことをどうか報いてください。そして願わくば罪深き我らをお許しください。我らが今日ここにあることをお許しください。
The company commander isn't Christian. In fact, he doesn't follow any religion. However, He prayed because he felt the need to ask someone for forgiveness. He wasn't even sure if he was saying it correctly, but he still prayed to God. He asked forgiveness for committing his sin and continued to pray. Takano was speaking in a soft voice. She was talking to herself.
神がいつ降臨されるのかは誰も知らない。それは例えるなら、泥棒がいつ訪れるのかわからないように。だから予期せずしてその時を迎えて、不信心であったことに歯ぎしりすることがないよう、常に目を覚ましていなさい。エセ預言者たちは、神の降臨を声高に叫ぶであろうが、それに惑わされてはなりませんか。
One man heard murmurs.
マタイの福音書ですね。
そうなの？祖父の好きだった言葉よ。報われる日がいつ訪れるかわからないから、常に勤勉であれって言葉だと思っていたけど。
今日が報われる日なのですか？
I was about to ask that.
そうよ。あなたにはわからないでしょうけどね。
失礼ながら、主の降臨は慈悲深いものであるべきだと信じています。このような日にそれを例えられることは冒涜かと思います。
At least there are some reasonable people around Takano right now. There's some reasonable people. He was trying to tell her that he was trying to tell her that using that verse of the Bible was inappropriate for the occasion. However, Takano simply laughed as though she had heard something very funny.
ごめんなさいね。
Oh, everything froze. Oh god. My computer froze. Please, don't do this. Don't do this. God damn it. Hey! It's back on! Weird. That's weird. I hope that nothing more happens because I've been recording for 3 hours and I do not want to lose this file. And I do not want to be rereading this entire last chapter again in the same day. I'm sorry, but you have no right to judge. Oh,
私は今日を境に試す側となるのよ。
Alright, I was about to say now the game's reconnected to my keyboard, but jeez, Takano, you're messed up.
以上で黙祷を終了する。
And with the end of the silence,
全小隊、滅菌を開始せよ。
the order was given, as hollow and reluctant a manner as an order can possibly be.
今こそ私の理想はすべて完成した。文字通りの理想郷がここにはある。ここでは私は神で、私のたたりは永遠に刻まれ、語り継がれるのだ。
People were packed into the classroom. They were afraid. The troopers closed the door of the classroom. The people inside had no idea why they were doing that. However, they didn't suspect anything at all. One old man walked up to the door to open it. Because with it closed, it was far too hot inside the room. But he collapsed all of a sudden. His wife tried to walk over to help him up, but she also collapsed all of a sudden. Then, other people also started collapsing inside of the room. It really was a very odd sight. What would make for a good example? It would be pretty amusing if they were dominoes. However, they're human beings. People sitting by the window watched this strange event happen before their eyes. They opened those eyes wider to try and understand what was going on.
ダム戦争をきっかけに、 長き眠りから蘇った荒ぶる神が、不信心なる者を綿流しの聖夜の旅にたたりを下してゆく。
I'm glad you're having fun.
その一年一年の積み重ねが、神の復活、お社様の意向の復活、たたりを恐れるという原始的恐怖への回帰。
I mean, Takedo's a really well-written villain if I'm actually legitimately getting mad at her. I'm getting mad at a real fictional character. The door creaked open slightly, and someone on the other side threw 3 sprayed canisters into the room. More people started to collapse, even those at the window. This wasn't something that was happening only in one room. It was happening in all the other rooms too. It was happening in all the evacuation centers. People's dreams, their hopes, and their futures were taken away so quickly and easily.
そして、誰もがお社様のたたりを疑わなくなり、完全に復活した我は、古きムクロの腹を内より破りて、今こそこの世によみがえる。お社様の怒りに触れるとき、地獄の釜が開きて正気が溢れ出し、人々は逃げることも叶わず、ことごとく生き絶えるなり、その最後の審判が、たたりが、こうして実現した。
Hold on, there is a notification from my computer about the slight crash alert. Let me see that real quick. I can't see that real quick. Alright, I'm just gonna continue on the game. I'm just gonna continue on with the game. I don't know what's going on with that. There was commotion in the reception room. There was commotion in the reception room by the principal's office. Someone had figured out what was going on, broke the seal off the window, and escaped outside. Other people tried to remove the seal on their windows too, but they collapsed in a matter of seconds.
あなたは死んだら何が残る？身は腐り、焼かれ、骨は砕かれ砂になる。大地の肥やしになる以上の何が残せるの？
応接室で脱走発生。4名が窓から脱出。
発砲許可。撃て撃て撃て撃て撃て撃て。
The soldiers shot the people who tried to escape in the back. The sound of the gunshots echoed in the silence. It was a noise filled with cruelty. They helplessly fell to the ground. Their deaths were so pitiful compared to the silent deaths of those before them. The residential police officer was one of the escapees. He tried to shoot back at them with his own gun. His shots could be heard throughout the building. The soldiers ducked into the shadows upon hearing the noise. The officer seized his chance and ran towards the gate, but that was just a waste of time. Not only is the range of the automatic weapons they were using longer than the length of the schoolyard, but as trained professionals, it would be nothing for them to shoot him from that distance. The villagers had no choice. Either they died from the gas without realizing what was happening, or they'd find out about the mission and be killed.
どうした？応答しろ！
脱走者全員の逃亡阻止。銃声は駐在警官が反撃したものです。
射殺隊を回収しろ。
一般犠牲者と一緒にしないよう注意せよ。
The soldiers walked over to the 4 fallen bodies. They needed to make sure that they were all dead, not just injured.
私は残した。名を残した。偉業を残した。たたりを残した。私の存在は、この長く封鎖されるこの土地で神格化されるだろう。そして、 近隣の町にて今日のたたりを逃れた者たちは、たたりを恐れ、その恐怖を人々に語り継ぐだろう。人間の群れの記憶が、私を超越した存在へ昇華させるのだ。
第一小隊より本部、営林署の滅菌を終了。脱走者4名は射殺。
第二小隊より本部、作戦終了。
脱走者なし。
What's up with the change of tone? Hold on.
第二小隊より本部、作戦終了。
脱走者なし。
I shouldn't be laughing, but what's up with the change of tone at the last thing he said?
第三小隊より本部、脱走者10名以上。現在相当中。制圧は時間の問題。
第4小隊より本部、滅菌終了。脱走者なし。
第3小隊より本部、脱走者13名全員の射殺を確認。全員の滅菌を終了。
了解。機密保持部隊の全小隊は確認を厳重に行われたし。
Takano was laughing to herself inside of the van. She didn't physically see all those people dying silently, but she saw it anyway. She saw countless people dying without even noticing it. She saw it all in her mind. God damn! Fuck you! 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 Also, I like there's a little, skull on her hat. Kind of describes her insanity right there. Takano waved her arms in the air. No one was watching her, but no one would understand what she was doing, even if they were. She was waving her baton. Takano was pretending that she was the conductor of this silent funeral march.
さあさあ、非常時対策の完全終了を確認。通信妨害を終了しますが、よろしいですか？
ええ、いいわよ。
施設処理部隊より定時連絡。機密搬出と溶接封鎖を完了。現在、注水中。
交通封鎖部隊より定時連絡。封鎖線は異常なし。
通信工作部隊より定時連絡。通信妨害を終了。電話施設の現状復帰を開始。
Takano was paying no attention to those reports. She continued to sing the melody of an orchestra. One operator spoke to her.
ご機嫌ですね。
ええ、最高に気分がいい夜よ。あなたには聞こえないでしょうね。この新しい神を称える賛歌が。
賛歌でありま。
Sorry, dude. Takano laughed loudly, spreading her arms wide.
ええ、そうよ。称える歌。神のいなかったこの地に、新しい神が誕生した瞬間を称える賛歌よ。
I'm not gonna slap myself with that one.
このHinamizawaには神などいなかった。お社様という名が残るだけ。神がかつて存在した痕跡が残るだけの、ただの古ぼけた土地だった。その地に、私は再び神を取り戻させたの。どういうことかわかる？
You're an asshole!
わからないでしょうね。今の世界にたたる神が何人いる？人が試すことに耐えられる神が何人いる？
Have to say, the voice actress is doing a good job at playing Takano. I do have to give a congratulations to the voice actress of Takano. I think her name is Miki Ito? Yell at me in the comments if I get that wrong. Also, post-editor me, yell at me if I get that wrong as well.
一人もいやしない。それを私がたたった。
Takano laughed, as if she was the only one who could comprehend what she was saying. None of the operators inside the car could comprehend her laughter. Takano was satisfied to know that.
たたりなきは神にあらず。たたるゆえに恐れられ、恐れられるゆえに崇められる。それこそが神の真実。神が信仰を生み出すのではなく、信仰が神を生み出すのなら、神にたたりなど必要ない。でも太古の神々はたたったのよ。では、神のたたりとは何なのか。それこそが真の神の証だった。たたらない神など、人間に見下された神でしかないのよ。神の宿らぬ抜け殻の土地に、神が確かに存在した痕跡を見た私は思ったわ。これは天の啓示だと。ダム戦争が終わるまで、明治から100年にもわたり、Hinamizawaは神を失ってきた。それを私が蘇らせろという神の啓示だと私は思ったわ。そして天は私にありとあらゆる力を貸してくれた。天が与えたわずかの偶然が積もり、芽生えたたたりの芽を私が育てた。育まれたたたりは今や結実し、実をたわわに実らせてくれたわ。そうよ、わかる？つまりは、今宵は収穫祭。お社様の伝説に刻まれた最後の神のたたりの日。この日が訪れたからこそ、お社様の存在は今こそ絶対となる。あなたたちは今はわからなくてもやがて知る。私が成した偉業がどれほどのものか、どれだけ長く語り継がれるか、そして私がどれほどの存在となったのか。神はたたる。そのたたりを私は起こす。今こそ我はお社様のたたりなり。我をあがめよ、たたえよ、そして恐れよ。我が紡ぐはたたりにあらず、死にあらず。我が紡ぐは歴史なり。歴史はたたりを語り、我が存在を永劫に語り伝えるであろう。我こそはたたりなり。肉でできた身を超越せし者なり。この身がたとえ朽ち果てようとも、我が紡ぎし歴史は永遠に残り続けるであろう。
Man, I actually forgot how much I slightly dislike Takano. And yet I like her at the same time because she's such a well-written villain. It's a complicated like-dislike relationship. I like the way she's written, but I despise her character whenever she succeeds in her plans. And I also pity her. Takano's such a complex character.
今こそ我は永遠を得たり。我が身を呪えよ人間たち。身が朽ちれば後には何も残せぬ無力さを呪い。そして我が偉大さを知るがいい。我こそはお社様なり。
No, Hanyuu's my Oshiro-sama.
今こそ神の領域に至ったものなり。
I'll deny you.
我は肉体が滅びようとも、永遠にこの地で語り継がれるのだ。
Hanyuu's the true Oshiro-sama. Shut up. Hearing her laugh, I'm sorry, but hearing her laugh, I can think of a different character. I can't say anything about that, though. Oh, man. These laughs definitely return in another game by Rikishi. And And that was the end of
我はお社様。我こそはお社様のたたり。我をあがめよ。たたえよ。そして恐れよ。我が紡ぐはたたりにあらず。死にあらず。我が紡ぐは歴史なり。歴史はたたりを語り。我が存在を永遠に語り伝えるであろう。我こそはたたりなり。肉でできた実を超越せし者なり。この実がたとえ朽ち果てようとも、我が紡ぎし歴史は永遠に残り続けるであろう。今こそ我は永遠を得たり。我が身を呪えよ、人間たち。身が朽ちれば、後には何も残せぬ無力さを呪い、悔やみ、恐れるがいい。そして、我が
I
偉大
wonder
さを
what's going on
知
in
るが
that
いい。
van right now.
我こそは、お社様なり。
I'm very curious to see the disturbed expressions of everyone in that van with
神の領域
Takano.
に至ったものなり。我は肉体が滅びようとも、永遠にこの地で語り継がれて、永遠の生を受けるのだ。
Higurashi no Nakukura Nikai. And that was Chapter 7, Minagoroshi. This has probably been one of the most emotional episodes I've done of Higurashi. Damn. Damn. You know, this fragment's end. Tips acquired. You know, the Great Hinamizawa disaster is a lot more brutal. It's a lot more brutal in the visual novel than any other adaptation. Like, this part was brutal. Oh yeah, I also got an extra part. I think I also get a stat from yes. Yes. I'm gonna go ahead and read them. The Great Hinamizawa Massacre. It definitely was a massacre. It definitely was a massacre. And fuck Takano. Fuck Takano. And anyone who thought it was a great idea to use a village's endemic as a biological weapon, which led to the deaths of 2,000 people because they went to make it into a weapon instead of treating it. Anyways, let's read the tips. Alright, it's the last one, right? Yes, this fragment's end. I guess Rika finally managed to assemble all the pieces to her puzzle. But we don't know yet if her memories will pass on to her next life. Rika always loses the memory of her death. I don't know if she can retain the memories of what she's discovered. I think this is Hanyuu narrating. What did you think? Did you have fun? Once you find out the answers, collecting them isn't so fun anymore. You don't agree? I see. You still might find something different by examining some old fragments. After all, the time we have here is endless. We have to find something to play with, because there's nothing to do here. For me, playing with these fragments starts being fun when I find out what's inside. This is not Hanyuu. This is not Hanyuu. I think this is Frederica. But if you can tell me how to have fun with them even so, that makes you pretty smart. What? You want to know what I play with? I don't play. I'm just killing time. I like to imagine what Rika could have done in order to achieve the future she hopes for. I like to imagine a world that would have been happy for all of them. You found out how these worlds are set up by looking at the previous ones, right? I like to analyze what would need to change in order for Rika to win against Takano. You want to see what's on my mind? Too bad. I'm not showing that to you. In that world, Rika and her friends survived their struggle and broke through the fate of June 1983. It's just my imagination. It's not for me to share with you. I'm sure the world that Rika is about to create is better than anything in my imagination. Even if she's stuck on June 19th in 1983. I'm sure this now ended world will remain one of Rika's brightest fragments either way. No matter how much she struggles, if she actually overcomes her fate, it will be the most brilliant fragment of her history, of her story. I'm sure the life Rika lives makes for a better story than my boring imagination. You want to know what happened to Rika? She made a decision to redo her life once again with Hanyuu. She is trying to live her life with all her might. That's what she learned from this world. Her next life has already begun. I do wonder what that life is like. I'm going there now to check. Do you want to come with me? Abso-fucking-lutely. I will be joining you, Frederica, in Matsuri Bayashi. But before any of that... Detective Minagoroshi. But before any of that... there is one person we need to talk to first. Hi, this is Rikishi07. Thank you for playing Higurashi When They Cry Kai, Chapter 7, Minagoroshi. This time around, the scenario was almost like the answer page in a book of riddles. Or maybe the scenario was like a side dish we enjoyed alongside all the scenarios up to now. You can take it how you like. I just hope you enjoyed it. I was very nervous about releasing this scenario, because the mystery is only good when it's still a mystery. This scenario marks the end of that mystery. To be honest, I didn't want to release this chapter for a while. However, way too many similar stories are being published with no answers at all. A book of riddles means nothing if there's no answer page in the back. Coming up with an answer when you have no way to see if it's right or not is a little sad, I think. If there are no answers, you can't get any joy out of reading a book of riddles. I regret to see that there are way too many stories out there that don't offer this kind of joy. That's why I decided to release something that you can compare your answer to for the series. Since this world has a rather irregular presentation, there may not have been many people who reach what might be called the right answer. But it's not really about whether you answer right or wrong. I'm gonna repeat that. But it's not really about whether your answer was right or wrong. It's much more about how many questions you raised when reading the story and how many answers you were able to find. Thank you all very much for the solutions you've sent me. They were all wonderful theories, and some were thought out so much more than the actual story that I frequently thought about making them the right answer. Also, your support has given me courage to finish writing the 7th chapter of this series. Thank you very much for supporting Higurashi. Finally, I would like to apologize about how I portrayed the Child Consultation Center. I don't know what it was like in 1983, but the Child Consultation Centers are not mean places like I depicted in my story. I made the characters look so unfeeling, but in reality, the government today is the number one hero for us civilians. In fact, those involved with child welfare and youth education are all extremely passionate and selflessly devoted people. I'm sorry for giving them such a negative image in this chapter. The next chapter, Matsuri Bayashi, is going to be the last one of the series. I'm overwhelmed by the pressure of writing the last chapter of Higurashi When They Cry, which turned out to be such a long story. I hope you will continue your kind support. Thank you all very much. 07 Expansion, Rikishi07. Thank you, Rikishi! Thank you, Rikishi, for giving us all of this experience that you have been giving us. Thank you, Rikishi. Thank you, Rikishi. Achievement unlocked. Minagoroshi staff room. And that was Minagoroshi. This is the chapter that I got the most emotional during. I got the most emotional during this chapter. From the moments of Satoko being entrapped by Teppei, to the struggles the group went to with the consultation center to save her, to them almost getting the world that they wanted before it got taken away from them by Takano. And, well, the well, yeah, what I was saying earlier about the people trying to make a disease into a biochemical weapon, for which I am not going to ignore that fact. I'm not going to ignore that fact. But, anyways, Minagoroshi is my favorite of the Higurashi series because it brings out so much emotion, and you get so connected to the characters and just the village of Hinamizawa itself that when you see bad things happening to the kids, and also the village, you feel similar emotions of sadness and anger. And that's why I really love Minagoroshi. It gets you to have the feels. So, it's about time I put it on my top 100 visual novel list. And I knew this was going to be my answer for a long time. I knew this was going to be my answer for the long time. And I bet you all know where I'm putting Minagoroshi. I think you all know. But if you don't, I'll show you anyway. See you all in Matsuribashi.
OK, OK。